2021 to order. Vin, take the roll call, please.
Sure. Deputy Mayor Napolitani, Council Members Achara,
Yep.
Donlin,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Here. So the notice requirement for the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Press, Coaster, posted in Town Hall, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 30, 2019. Then you want to go over the agenda? The items here?
Why don't we, since we have a bunch of speakers, why don't we do the discussion?
Oh, yeah,
items
let's do our
first?
guest first. Okay, we can do that. So I guess we have, Mike, you want to go first, Beeson?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Beeson. I
Let's-
live here in Ocean Township. Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to introduce my colleague, Bree Callahan from New Jersey Future. We're going to discuss tonight with the council and residents what a stormwater utility is. It's a new law that was established, I think it's close to 2 years now, Bree, where it allows municipalities to create their own stormwater utility to promote infrastructure improvements where we have flood-prone communities. So New Jersey Future and myself, I work with the Pew Charitable Trust. Would like to make a quick presentation, and Bree, I'm going to turn it over to you so we go a little quicker. I do want to recognize that I see Ed DeFeely on the phone. I think he's a member of the Environmental Commission with our Councilwoman Margie Donnellan, and Ed knows a lot about this issue also. So with that, Bree, you want to take over while my dog barks?
Sure, and I'm going to share my screen, but my apologies too. My dog is not going to bark, but he might snore. So just warning that might be an issue. Okay, so let me know. Oh, actually, I think there's, it says that host is disabled screen sharing. Should I just do it without the?
I'm going to let you, hold on, I'm going to let you co-host.
Okay.
Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
Thank you
That's right,
very
Mr.
much.
Achara, right?
All right, can you see the screen?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, please feel free to stop me whenever you have any questions. I'm happy to be interrupted. So my name is Bree Callahan. I'm the Stormwater Manager at New Jersey Future. As Mike was saying, if you're not familiar with New Jersey Future, we envision healthy places and spaces for residents and visitors to live, work, and play. We focus on communities having safe streets and clean waterways that are free from flooding and pollution. We're a nonprofit located in Trenton, and we work throughout the state on land use and environmental issues, specifically things like stormwater utilities. So I work primarily on stormwater utilities, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the basics of stormwater utilities, and then some of the resources that are available to municipalities. So the reason that I'm talking to you is because not just Ocean Township, but towns across New Jersey, across the East Coast, across the nation are struggling with issues that are exacerbated by climate change. The map that you see up on my slides here shows that the precipitation, the percentage of precipitation and heavy rain events has increased 71% from 1958 to 2012 for the Northeast region. And this is the greatest increase across the nation. So, oops, as you know, we're dealing with a lot of, well, for some reason, can you see this screen? Yeah, you can, okay. So climate change, increased development creates additional stormwater runoff. And this, as you know, relates to frequent flash flooding, street closings, property damage, and infrastructure failure. Luckily, we have solutions like green infrastructure and upgrades to aging and inadequate gray infrastructure, because a lot of times, if you're taking care of your gray infrastructure, if it's undersized, you're still dealing with the same issues. But these measures can also be really expensive, and without a dedicated funding mechanism, the solutions are often left untapped. Stormwater utilities is one way to pay for these solutions, and that's why I'm here to talk to you today. So what is a stormwater utility? It's a dedicated funding mechanism specifically enacted to address stormwater issues. It's similar to a water or sewer utility. And the new legislation that Mike mentioned provides that funds collected can only be used for stormwater utility for stormwater purposes. So it's not something that's going to be spent on anything else, like it could potentially be if it's spent through the general fund. So probably wondering what it looks like across the country. There are close to 2,000 stormwater utilities throughout the United States, and they serve diverse communities. We're talking communities of less than 100 in Florida to 3 million in Los Angeles. So there's been a great increase in stormwater utilities in the last 10 years as a funding mechanism to pay for stormwater issues. You can see that from the maps that we have right here. The map on the left is from 2009, and the map on the right is from 2019. The more dark colored blue is greater amounts of stormwater utilities. And most folks have turned to these because of flooding issues, water quality issues, or just dedicated sources of funding if they didn't have a solid source of funding. So taking a step back, I wanted to talk briefly about the Clean Stormwater and Flood Reduction Act. For some reason, there you go. New Jersey's law. So the Clean Stormwater and Flood Reduction Act was signed into law by Governor Murphy 2 years ago, like Mike mentioned, in 2019. The law is permissive, so this means that it allows but doesn't require local governments to establish utilities. But if established, utilities are required to collect fees based on the amount of stormwater that a property generates. So this is typically a function of how much hard or impervious surface that's on a property. We're talking driveways, rooftops, walkways, that sort of thing. In terms of establishment, utilities can be created by municipalities, counties, groups of municipalities, sewerage and improvement authorities. So there are a bunch of different structural options. And as I mentioned earlier, one of the really important factors is that funds generated from the utility fees are dedicated solely to stormwater management and can't be used for anything else. So here we go. So what are the key attributes of a stormwater utility? They're equitable, being that property is assessed a stormwater utility fee based on the amount of impervious cover that it has. It means that properties that generate stormwater will pay their contribution to the overall problem. So when stormwater costs are recovered through other funding mechanisms like property tax or sewer charges, tax-exempt properties or properties that don't have any water sewer services like parking lots wouldn't pay their share of the cost of managing the stormwater, and they often contribute more to the amount of stormwater. So the next thing is that a stormwater utility is dedicated. We talked I talked a minute ago about how, by law, the funds have to be used for and spent on stormwater related costs. So they can't be shifted to pay for any other expenditures. They're stable, meaning that you have the fees coming in consistently, so you can proactively plan for projects that you need to be able to implement. And the sole exemption for this is, it's important to note, under the New Jersey law, is active agricultural and horticultural lands. So everyone would pay based on their amount of impervious cover. Just wanted to bring up about the property tax versus fees. This is a slide that I have from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, where they implemented a stormwater utility. And if you see on the left here, the fee distribution based on the water flow, you can see the residential and the non-residential fees. And then you can see it based on, based on impervious area, which is what a stormwater utility would be. So with it based on a stormwater utility, the residential customers actually ended up paying $1.3 million less. And that varies from town to town, and it varies on what kind of needs your town has, but it's just one of the ways people look at why stormwater utility would be a nice tool. So moving on. These are some of the key benefits. You can tackle environmental problems, like I mentioned earlier, in a proactive and cost-effective manner. You can bundle a lot of the projects in when you're dealing with potential water infrastructure bank funding. And this, there's a stable source of income for the work. And also the other things that we're trying to get the word out about is that these stormwater infrastructure projects can support the local workforce and improve property values in neighborhoods. We've seen that a lot with certain areas that had flooding issues. With stormwater utility, they had a dedicated funding mechanism and they were able to increase their property values. So what can it pay for? It can pay for establishment of the actual stormwater utility itself. It can pay for capital expenditures. This includes planning, design, engineering, acquisition, construction, and this can include green infrastructure components as well as gray infrastructure. Operations and maintenance, we're talking service requests, street sweeping, catch basin cleaning, all sorts of, snow removal, pipe repairs, green infrastructure installations, asset management, and public outreach. And then a lot of the administrative costs, staff or service costs for billing invoice, requests for fee credits, legal review, NJIPD's compliance activities, monitoring and inspection activities, a lot of the things that are required by the NJPAC with climate change. I know a lot of municipalities are dealing with having to incorporate climate change to their master plans or to the new requirements of the new stormwater rules. So these are all things that can be paid for through a stormwater utility.
And can I mention, Bree, real quick?
Sure.
That this is off budget. So for municipalities looking for the cap, the 2% cap, this would all these expenditures would be coming off budget. So it's just a different source of funds, if that makes sense to everybody. Thanks, Bree.
Okay, so I'm not going to take up much more of your time. We put together at New Jersey Future, we put together a website that's called the New Jersey Stormwater Utility Resource Center. And it has all of the information that you'd need to get started and take a look at whether a stormwater utility would be right for your community. So there are 3 separate sections: why stormwater matters, why a stormwater utility, and establishing a stormwater utility. Establishing a stormwater utility has all the steps that you would need. And if I click through, you can see we want to provide, and that section is what provides municipal and county officials and utilities with the tools to help them figure out whether stormwater utility is right for them. It's also about educating the public because we want to have outreach to the business community and to the general public at large. And then it's an ongoing repository for the latest information on stormwater utilities. And that's actually what I think is the most important part of this. It talks about all of the things that a municipality would need to take a look at, most of which I touched on briefly in the last couple minutes, but it also has all of the technical, legal, like model ordinances, technical financial information, case studies, questions about and mapping capabilities, and that's all on the back part of the page. So the other things that New Jersey Future has that's also important, and I wanted to inform you of, is we also have a stable of pro bono consultants and most of them are national best practices on the national stage for stormwater utilities. And they've agreed to provide limited pro bono support to municipalities who are investigating this stormwater utilities. And also we have a peer learning network. So if we have mentor cities outside of New Jersey that have agreed to speak with and provide, resources and input to New Jersey municipalities. So
And can I'm sorry, Bree, if I just want to add too real quick, there are some grants available to municipalities such as Ocean Township through New Jersey Future that might help with a feasibility study, because that would be the next step to kind of deliver a feasibility study. And I know that some of the council members might have questions regarding what is the cost to the average taxpayer. You set the fee, and it's based on how much impervious cover you have. So we're not talking thousands of dollars at all. It's really something that you set. And these monies can really go, as an Ocean Township resident, I've seen the flooding firsthand on Kings Highway and Poplar Brook. And we know with Deal Lake and being a tributary, there's flooding all over the place. And it's becoming, with climate issues that we have, it's becoming more and more of an issue. And this is just a tool to help the municipality and, more importantly, help the residents. And it's equitable. I can't stress that enough. It's equitable. Everybody has to, pay a percentage. So I don't know if Chris, Bree, were you done, Bree? I'm sorry.
There's one more thing I wanted to mention, and then I'm open for questions. So the other thing I wanted to mention is residences, as part of the legislation, municipalities need to come up with a credit structure. So anyone who is reducing their impervious cover, stormwater, by reducing their impervious cover, is eligible for credits. So folks can reduce their fees, by installing certain things, and there's grant programs and things like that can be constructed to reduce fees. And that's it. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
So Bree, thank you. That's a great presentation.
Thank you.
So you mentioned about reduction in fees. So if you establish one, somebody puts a rain garden in, or
Yes.
something to that effect, you can go back and credit them on their formula. Is that it?
Yep, that is correct.
Yeah. So basically in Ocean, we have a 27% lot coverage and impervious. Of that's a percentage of that as well. So, I think it's something we'd have to maybe look into the grant money for feasibility study, and then talk to our engineers and see what to do. I know I was speaking to one of our engineers recently about any new developments coming on, doing like in a little assessment district for their share of what they would spill into a nearby brook or waterway, because, we have 3 brooks in a lake that's, 40% of Deal Lake. So it is something in Ocean to consider. It just, everybody hates a new tax. I mean, I think that's going to be the stumbling block there, getting past that. And even though we always like to defer or push them onto our commercial users, we're trying to promote business, and they usually are the ones that squawk the loudest, believe it or not. And anytime they get a new tax bill, they're the first ones in with an appeal. That's what we do till April, is settle those appeals. So a lot to talk about.
Yeah, Mayor, it's a lot to talk about. And I understand I'm a homeowner here. I get it.
Yeah.
But ultimately, just keep in mind too, another municipality is going to be using some of the COVID rescue money that we're getting to pay for the feasibility study. Mm-hmm. So a feasibility study doesn't commit to you to do it. And if we could help match it with a grant,
of course not, right,
for the town to do it, I think we could really make the case to the residents that this could be a value and help the budget. So
I think first thing is to see how much is a feasibility study, then go from there.
Well, Bree, you want to handle? We're happy to set you up with an engineering firm that specializes in this, if you want to kind of give you an idea.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to, provide a connection and set you up with any of we have a list actually, and I can send the list. You can see if there's anybody on there. Your firm that you work with might even be on there. And really what they would do, and what they've done with other municipalities, is take a look at what your specific situation is, and then they can figure out what sort of range you're looking at in terms of feasibility study costs and fee costs and all that sort of stuff.
Okay. Oh, I see somebody has their hand raised there. Mary?
Yes, I just want to offer a thought on the cost involved, because it's something I've become very aware of recently. When we talk about how much it will cost to implement something like this, it might help if we present to ourselves and to our townspeople, what is the cost if we don't?
Yeah.
And especially with flooding, it's pretty obvious what it costs a homeowner when there's flooding. And if this will tax them less than it's going to cost them every time there's a flood, and we're predicting that this flooding is getting worse, people may be more open to a resolution.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of what a feasibility study might help uncover, what the cost would be. I know from places that have already, implemented a stormwater utility, and we could definitely dig those examples up. So yeah, absolutely. Point well taken. The cost of not doing it, especially in light of the new, stormwater requirements through the NJDEP and PACT, and also, any development or any other things that you're trying to do locally. Those are all things that are taken into consideration when they're talking about what's the cost if you don't do something like that.
Mary, can you come to our next meeting, our presentation, Mary, with me and Bree? That was really helpful.
I was about to say no because of the pandemic, but I am not used to it yet. As of yesterday, I'm 2 weeks after my second vaccine.
Yay, that's
And
awesome. Yeah.
I'm still, after 14 months of being completely isolated, I'm still trying to get up the nerve to go back out again.
No problem. Take your time.
But tomorrow, I have an appointment tomorrow, so call me after that.
Thank you.
Any council members have anything?
Just to say that I think it's a really good option. I mean, Ocean Township, we hear all the time, when we were going door to door, issues about flooding. And I think our particular area is prone to flooding. So I think it's something that we should definitely look into. We should definitely look at a feasibility study. And like Bree said, we can set it at whatever, nobody likes an additional fee. I don't think we want to use the word tax, but but if it's low enough just to start and see how it works, it might be something that people are open to, because I know they're open, they want solutions to the flooding, and this might be one way to look at that. And I know maybe we can use some of the money for example, for Snell Pond, Deal Lake, other areas of town that need help.
Very good. Thank you, Marge. Anybody else? No?
Got his hand. Unless he's waving, I think he's got his hand up.
He's muted.
Jim, you're muted.
You there, Dave?
I saw Jack Kearns has his hand up, but he's muted.
Well, I want to see if the council members had anything first.
Nothing for me.
Okay.
Chris, I agree with you. Marge, I know you don't want to call it a tax, but basically
It is.
And it is what it is. It's all about the optics. But you're right. It's going to hit the businesses that are paying the most taxes harder than it's going to hit the residents that aren't paying as much. So, you look at Seaview and you say, okay, yeah, they're the biggest spot. They're the ones that are going to get hit the most, but they're also the one that's paying the most already. So, if they're already meeting our stormwater requirements, which I believe they are, why tax them more?
Yeah, well, I think the study might review more of what the pros and cons are as well. So I'm not opposed to at least digging in that far. Let's dip our toe in, see where it goes, and then we can decide. But yeah, I mean, tax is something that everybody wants a new.
Yeah, Mike or Brianna, what are we talking as far as budget? I mean, are we talking 10,000? We talking 50, 100, 150?
Yeah, I don't know. Bree, did you know about?
For a feasibility study or for?
Yeah.
For a feasibility study, it can range, 15 or 20,000 to up to, high, because it all depends on what you're trying to get out of it. If you want them to go through and do all of your impervious cover parcel by parcel, that's going to cost,
Right.
you know, like $100,000. But if you're just trying to get an answer whether or not it's to move forward, then that's in the like 15, 20, 25 range.
And like I said, if you guys are interested, we would help you through the grant application through our process. So,
And Mike and Brianna, is it like a typical tax appeal? You know, if somebody has an objection to it, what is the, you know, is it like when they get their assessment, they get their tax bill, can appeal it? How does that work?
So you can set it up however you want to set it up. It just, the legislation provides that there has to be an appeal, you know, an appeals process, and there has to be credits available. But I think, you know, like that's what part of what the feasibility study would uncover is the best way to structure it. Because I mean, really what the consultant will do is see how you can minimize costs and how you can duplicate what you already have and the infrastructure that you already have to, you know, make it cost as, you know, as little as possible and get out of it the level of service that you're looking for.
Got it.
and Rob, just keep in mind that, you know, your street sweeping, your snow plowing would come off budget. It would alleviate the stress on your budget and put off onto the utility true things that are helpful for a utility and for stormwater. So keep that in mind. It frees up your budget on the other side and it allows it to go on this side. So
Do you have a list of municipalities, local or otherwise? in New
Looked like
Jersey?
Jersey didn't have that many.
no, we
Good luck
don't, not
on
yet.
that map. We had a big
No.
zero, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Newark's in the process, Jersey City's in the process, Hoboken.
Yeah, they get money. They get state money for everything.
Well,
Actually,
yeah.
we're working with a bunch of those municipalities right now and they're not getting any money.
Yeah,
but-
Union Township being one.
Yeah, but money from,
You-
you know, other grant sources and, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, so I'm happy to leave my contact info and just put it in the chat. I can put the website link in the chat as well. And if you have any questions or if you want to see the pro bono consultants list, Mike can share that, even just to have a introductory conversation with one of them about what a feasibility study would cost and what sort of things you're looking at. I'm happy to do that.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bree.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Mike, thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure. Always a
Yes.
pleasure. All right. That was D3, Vin. So let's
Go up to D1 because Mary's here for that.
Hey, Vinny,
item.
Jack
Then
does have a
then we'll
question.
jump into
Jack, you're
Marie.
on mute.
oh, Jack had a question. Shoot.
Jack, you're on mute.
Jack, you're
I'm
good.
I'm still here.
Okay, Jack.
Can't hear you, Jack.
Jack, you're on mute.
You're on mute. Here it comes.
Jack, you have to unmute yourself. Click on the red.
There we go.
There you go, Jack.
I was clicking, but it wasn't working. I support the very.
Yeah, there you go.
Can't hear.
Jack, we can't hear you.
He thinks it's a good idea.
He's writing a check. I heard her say he was going to pay for it.
We all will. Either way. You
Yes.
do it
All
or you
right.
don't do it, we're gonna pay for it. It depends on how much you can afford. I've heard for quite a while now how the permanent service continues to grow in the town like crazy. Our index has been reporting for 5 or 6 or 7 years or more. We're losing ground every day. Every day.
patience.
If somebody puts the shingle up or plows the land to put in a new driveway, when are we going to stop? When are we going to get control of it? What does 15,000 mean to anybody around this table here in terms of cost? Gallagher will tell you it's a drop in the bucket. You won't even see it in the rounding. So why are we holding it up? I would like to see the council, by the next council meeting, have a plan for what they want to do and go ahead with this. Either a full bore study or the feasibility thing that the young lady was talking about, but something's got to be done. This waiting and waiting and waiting and trying to decide when to make a decision doesn't work. It hasn't worked in the past 10 years. It's not, in fact, if you look at the master plan, it hasn't worked in 30 years or more. So you got to get on the ball, make a decision and do it. If it's needed, it's needed, and I've no doubt in my mind that it is. That's all I have. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jack. Okay. I see Mary has her hand raised again.
That's all right.
Very quickly, when you talk about the expensive part of the feasibility study is checking the impervious covers in our township. So a few years ago, we had Rutgers come in and do a study of impervious cover. We probably have all of that.
Right.
We
already.
do.
That's very
Saves us
helpful.
A lot of money.
Yep,
Our engineers have that
Yep.
mapped out pretty good too.
that's very
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, the more information you
you
have,
bet.
the better the feasibility, the less the feasibility study will cost. And that's one of the things that if the preliminary pro bono meeting, it's one of the things that other municipalities have done is bring us all the stuff that they think is useful. And then they chat about, the consultant will chat about what else you might have and try and use other information so that you're not paying for more.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, Brian.
This is Jim Bay. Can I speak?
Good, Jim.
Ocean Township currently has quite good stormwater management regulations. In the last 30 years, aside from Hidden Meadows, most of the projects are quite well mediating the stormwater. Your stormwater management regulations are quite good. This is somewhat of a solution in search of a problem. If you have a specific block and lot or specific stream or a specific area that needs to be mediated, you can always borrow, you can always tax, you can always get grants, you can already do those specific things now. And you have quite good stormwater regulations in the town. You've done very well. If you build an authority or a commission, visualize the sewer authority. 5 commissioners, you need an audit, you need a budget, you need a user-friendly budget, you need an annual debt statement, you're going to be putting 5 commissioners potentially on there. You're going to need an accountant. You're going to need an auditor. There's some complexity involved in this. And you already have very good stormwater regulations. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Great. Thanks, Jim. Very good.
I just
Anybody
wanted-
else?
I just wanted to say to that too, you don't have to create a new authority, just so you know. It's, structure can be anything that you want. If you, whatever you're doing with your water and sewer right now, you can put another, line item. So you don't have to put new
Right.
commissioners so, that's something that you would talk to with the consultant and everything. But that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Okay.
Still say, go ahead and move on and stop waiting.
Okay. As soon as we get to the next item, we'll jump on it. We're good?
D1.
D1, Margie, or who do we have for that?
So we have Mary Johnson from the Environmental Commission.
Mary.
She is interested in doing rain garden plantings, Brookside Avenue, and that's part of the New Jersey DEP. And she's been in contact with them. She'd like to apply for a grant to do the plantings, and we just wanted to run it by council to make sure that that's okay with us.
Brookside in Oakhurst, where we had the Blue Acres buyout.
I believe
Yes.
so. Is Mary Johnson's on the call, correct?
Is that
Yeah.
the one? Mary?
Yes,
Mary.
actually, Faith Teitelbaum offered to help me with this project. And she put me in touch with Rutgers. They're running a series of classes on green infrastructures. So I've actually walked around and looked at those lots back there. They're owned by the DEP. The people at the council told me last month to talk to them, but the council would also, I would want to know that this is something the council wants doing, since the environmental commission is appointed by the council. I spoke to an agent from the DEP finally yesterday. She was pretty enthusiastic. She said that throughout the state, a lot of such projects are being done. However, from Rutgers, I've also learned that we may not be able to put in a rain garden there, because one of the things that's required is a water table that's 2 feet below. And I can't go over there and measure. I'm not an expert at this stuff. I'm going to be in another class at Rutgers tomorrow, and I've already contacted several times to try to find out. They act as consultants and they get very involved in these projects in other areas. And I would like to see whether or not they can get involved in our project and advise us on what would be the best way to install some green infrastructure there. And by infrastructure, I don't mean building buildings. It would be all like plantings of some sort, something to help with the water problems. That's as far as I've gone so far. And basically, I just want to know that the council wants me to proceed with this. This is something that, I'm not saying I want you to approve, because even the DEP
Yeah, that
said,
sounds-
you see something in writing of an actual plan, but it's going to take a bit of work for me to even get that far. Is that something that the council would want me to continue doing?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Ray,
If you have any questions, I think I've told you everything I've done so far.
Oh,
Thank you, Mary.
good job, Mary.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity to do this. That's why I'm on the Environmental Commission.
Good. Okay. What do we got, Vin? What's that?
D2, the Alliance, Marie Curtis is here with us.
Oh, yeah. Hi, Marie.
Hello. And I'm here as
Marie,
chairman
we
of
can't hear
the,
you, Marie.
I heard her.
Sounded great. Ben, get your hearing aids fixed. You sound great, Mary.
I'm sorry.
Oh, I can
Can
hear
you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Sound great.
Okay. I'm here as chair of the Human Services Council here in town. And we're concerned because we've heard that council has been discussing the possibility of allowing a marijuana business of some sort here within the township limits. And we on the Human Services Council, as you know, we're an outgrowth of the original Drug Abuse Council that goes all the way back to 72, when we were formed specifically to try to stop or at least lessen the use of marijuana among the youth in Ocean Township. And bringing a business with marijuana right into the town seems to us to go against the very basis on which we were formed originally. We've also, and I've got with me, and I can make available to council, I've got reports from New Zealand, from Duke University, from Oregon, from Colorado, as to what has happened there after legal marijuana has come into use. And we've got reports on what happens when youth are exposed to marijuana. Now, I know that the law is aimed at adults, but the brain formation occurs in teenagers and young adults all the way up to like age 25. So this would be affecting their brains. And we know that it really has a very detrimental effect. We know, for instance, that in one study, kids that were using marijuana that started in their early teens and kept it up until they were a little over 30 years old, their IQs dropped 4%. They had verbal problems speaking, and they had difficulty with focusing and memory recall. So there are some serious consequences. I know that you're not in a position to say no marijuana because it's now legal in this state. But we found that where the concentrations of legal marijuana may be, so also are increases in automobile fatalities. There's a 25% increase in marijuana addiction among youth. And yes, it's supposed to go to adults, but we all know that if there is something that's, let's say, desirable to a teenager wanting to test, they're going to get their hands on it. We know that from alcohol. I mean, alcohol may not be legal for people over or under the age of 18, but boy, oh boy, they get their hands on it. We know it. We know if it's available, they will get their hands on it, and it will damage them. It's not a win-win situation for us. I know the argument is being made that there is money to be made, but we would lose money. We would have to really increase policing because of traffic. As I said, fatalities go up, accident increases. We would probably have an increase in an emergency room and hospitalizations. And unlike what was anticipated, they found that the black market in marijuana among the criminal element
increases.
It increases. It doesn't decrease. It increases with the legalization. I'm not sure how or why. I'm not an expert on crime, but we are very concerned. We were concerned also because council didn't consult us, and we were instituted specifically to advise council in these areas. And I'm not sure whether you consulted your own human services department in this area, because I really think this could be a mistake. And there are a couple of members of our council that are here also this evening, and one of them is a professional dealing in this area. Would you like to give them an idea of what you found? This is
Certainly.
Mary Ann.
Hi, I'm Mary Ann Ruane. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a certified alcohol and drug counselor. And I've been working in the field of addiction since 1980, a long time. I just see patients privately now. I don't work for an institution. And I have on my caseload 2 young men, 2 college students, and a woman who's in her early 30s who are addicted to marijuana. The 2 boys are, as I say, college students. Well, they were college students. They both flunked out. And one of them flunked out of 2 colleges. And the reason is because their marijuana use has led them to develop essentially a motivational syndrome, which is a term you've probably heard, meaning that they lose interest. They lose interest in doing things. They become apathetic, so they don't do their work. They don't do anything they're supposed to do. Those 2 boys, they're not Ocean Township residents. I have to admit they're not from Ocean Township, but they both have had serious impacts on their lives and on their families' lives because of their marijuana use. The woman is her early 30s. She's a professional, of course, working from home from COVID, and cannot stop using marijuana. She's been hospitalized. She's had psychiatric treatment. I mean, there are days that you just can't work. I normally see her early in the morning and she'll say, I don't know if I can work today, just working on the computer. And that's because of her need for marijuana, her inability to function without it. I'm really worried that if we do have some kind of a store or a business here in town, that there'll be more of our Ocean Township residents exposed to and interested in using marijuana. And I think from what I understand, there are 2 stores, or I don't know what to call them, outlets, that are going to be very nearby. One on our southern border and one in Eatontown. And I just don't see what the need is to have one in our town. If anybody has a question, I'm certainly happy to answer it.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a statement, please, if I could.
Barbara Laposa is also a member of the Human Services
Whoever that is,
Council.
state your name and address.
Oh, Barbara Laposa, 25 Boxwood Drive, Cedar Village.
Hi, Barb.
I'm presuming that one of the reasons that it is under study to allow a store to be opened or stores to be opened, obviously is because there's money that can come to the town. Let's be honest about this.
We
Right
actually have an
in our
ordinance,
town-
Barbara.
Excuse me? Yes,
We
sir.
actually have an ordinance in town now that prohibits the sale or distribution of marijuana. We did that without consulting the Alliance.
Okay, so
Because
then we don't have,
then.
we
The
don't
only
have to
thing
think
that's
of,
changed, the only thing that's changed is legislation's changed, and now we have to either reintroduce an ordinance or decide if we want a distribution center, do you want medical marijuana? That's really the only discussion. No one's saying, hey, let's think how much money we can make. And we never, in Ocean, I think we all concur that none of us want a retail establishment, period.
okay,
That we
okay,
wouldn't want.
okay.
A grow
good.
facility, we were investigating other options that didn't involve somebody standing outside making a purchase. That
Okay,
was really the only thing we would discuss.
okay, thank
I
you.
just
for
want you to
clar-
understand that we're not sitting here thinking about how much money we can make having a retail store on Sunset. Or
Right.
Monmouth Road. That was never a question.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your explanation. Thank you,
You're welcome.
Chris.
You're welcome.
Hey, Marie, can I ask a quick question? You made a comment that, and I think Chris just kind of touched on it. You made a comment that with the new law, we can't not, I know double negative, have a facility in town. I'm under the impression we can still pass an ordinance that would ban any type of recreational sale, but medicinal or recreational. Am I?
That's true.
Oh, no, you're correct. The
Okay.
township certainly has the ability to
Okay.
do that.
Right.
And we would strongly recommend, as we did, we strongly endorsed your effort the last time when you passed the original ordinance. We were strongly supportive of that, and we will be very supportive of it to cover the new situation, which has come about because of the legalization.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. If I misunderstood, I apologize. Thank you.
Just to clarify, there are 6 different types of licenses regarding the new marijuana law. A cannabis cultivator, which is basically a grow facility, a manufacturer, which is a processing facility where they may take marijuana and either package it or make it into food substances or whatever. A wholesale facility, which transfers to other licenses, but not consumers. Transfers from potentially the grow facility to a retailer. There's a distributor, which, basically is like a trucking company going, again, not to consumers, but transferring between different other facilities. The retailer who is selling to the consumer. And then there's the delivery service, which I would say is like a Grubhub for marijuana. You can either call the delivery service and they will, you can't prevent. That's one thing you cannot prevent is a delivery service from making deliveries within Ocean Township in your town. But you can pass an ordinance that prohibits 1, 2, 3, 4 of those uses. You can pass an ordinance that limits, it to one facility or limits the location if you want to do that. In terms of the income, which, is a factor, it may not be the most important factor, but basically the tax involved for each of the facilities, the four that are not, transferring from one place to another. The cannabis cultivator, the manufacturing, and the retailer, There's a 2% add-on tax that would benefit the municipality. For a wholesaler, it's a 1% tax. So that's the income to be made from it. Those are the types of uses that are permitted by license. The state would take care and would handle licensing. And then, but the town has the ability over the next, probably now 4 months, to make a determination as to, what, if any of those facilities they would have, whether they want to restrict numbers. What we've talked about so far is that whatever the town cannot afford not to act, because currently the ordinance or resolution that we have is of no longer any force and effect under the new law. So whatever the town is going to do, they have to pass some law, or else, as I've said before, it's sort of open season. Anybody can do whatever they want for 5 years, as long as they comply with the licensing requirements of the state. So the town has to take some action. And what that action is dependent upon what the council wants, what they hear from the public, whether they want to have a general meeting regarding that. It's up to the council. But the bottom line is, those are the criteria.
Okay, thanks,
No,
Marty.
we understand that. We know.
Well, I understand you do, but other people might not. So.
Hey, can I ask Marie a question?
Certainly.
Hi, Marie, Dave Fisher. I just wanted to say, so I wanted to feel you out on what is your feeling on medicinal marijuana? What is your feeling that if we had a distribution facility up in the Sand Hills on Sunset Avenue that was just merely a business that nobody would even know was there? I just wanted to hear what you had to say on some of those thoughts.
Okay. I'm not speaking for the council.
Correct.
On this. This is personal. I think there is legitimate medicinal use for marijuana, but I think it should be highly regulated. I also think that if you have any kind of a facility anywhere, the word gets out. Even if you're in the back of no man's land, the word will get out and it will attract people. Whether it would attract, a bad element that might, try to frankly steal some of it, or whether it might attract that criminal element that they've seen increase with the black marketing that seems to have gone along with all of this. As I said before, I don't understand all of that, but evidently it does increase the black marketing and usage. So it seems to us to be a problem. Our concern is primarily with the youth and with the fact that marijuana does affect the frontal lobe of the brain and its development from the teen years through the first half of the 20s. So kids that are using this are really being affected, even though they're not aware of it at the time. It really takes an effect on anyone. One of the reasons we have the problems with increased automobile accidents is because it affects coordination, it affects judgment, it affects your response time, all of which are crucial if you're driving a vehicle on a major road. So these are concerns that we have. As I said, there is a use for medical marijuana, and of course, nobody consulted me, but had I had my way, I would have said yes to decriminalizing the usage for those people who are spending years in jail for a minimal possession. But I wouldn't have gone all the way to recreational legalization.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anybody else want to weigh in on the issue?
Hi, Marie.
Yeah.
Hi, thank you for presenting. I think it's really important to underscore the fact that a lot of people aren't aware that up till about age 25, your frontal lobes aren't developed, and that is where the most negative impact marijuana use has. You know, as a medical student, I remember seeing young adults in their early 20s having their first psychotic break after their first use of marijuana. And it's something that I think not enough people are aware of. So I'm wondering if whatever happens with what we decide in town, if we can have some sort of education campaign in town, you know, making it, you know, because it is coming to the state. Certain towns are choosing to allow it and certain towns are not. But regardless, you know, I think it would be helpful to have some kind of education campaign in Ocean Township, even if it's part of the newsletter or something around the fact that, you know, if you're under 25 and you're using or wanting to try this for the first time, it's really not advised at all, even though you are of legal age and other aspects of it. So I think regardless of what happens, I think maybe some kind of education campaign working with you going forward would be helpful.
I think that's a wonderful idea. Thank you. We do try to get the word out. We work with the schools, the school superintendent and the high school and junior high principals serve on the council. And we do try to get the word out to the kids in the schools, but you're right. I think an education campaign definitely is in order, and we will certainly look into that. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Marge. Thanks, Marie. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, well, we don't have all the members here, of course, so naturally there will be more discussion before we have to take action. I think my personal opinion, I was never for the recreational portion of it, but watching somebody die a slow death, I think the medical would have served some purpose. I was actually injected into my brother's stomach morphine his last few days, which I know is a harder drug than marijuana. But I kind of thought if we had something like that available here, that might have helped people like him and others. And so that's my personal reason why I think a medical facility would, I would be okay with that. That would be my own personal thing, but we have other members. I know they said, well, there'd be one in Eatontown and one there. Well, we have pizzerias in Eatontown and we have Chinese restaurants and chiropractors, but you know, we have businesses here too. That we have to.
No.
We're not going to get rid of 818 mercantile license because the neighbor in town offers the same service. Makes sense? Okay. All right, that's my 2 cents. All right,
2 cents?
Jack has to talk.
Jack?
Jack, you have to talk louder.
I would support what those young ladies have said, and Marie and so forth. And Chris, I'm 100% behind you on the recreational, and the tax issue is such a big thing. I wish the governor would read what he wrote, what he signed, because it's a lot of baloney. The other thing is marijuana is a lead into other drugs. People will tell you, no, that's not the case, and I'll tell you it is. I absolutely know it is. The other town that's nearby, north of you, has taken the same tack that you are taking. And Chris, I support you 100% on the no, what do you call it?
Recreational.
Recreational. I think that should be 100% outlawed. Well, however you got to do it, I don't know. The use for medicinal purposes is perfectly understandable. There's a lot of other drugs that are used for medicinal purposes, and I think they should be left that way. There's probably some that could be discontinued for dangerous reasons or whatever. But I would support 100%. And I think if we don't put our feet in the ground here and say this is what you're not going to do in Ocean Township, nobody else is going to follow. They'll follow the other towns that are doing it for whatever reason they are doing it. I question that every time I hear about it. What kind of personal benefit? Not public benefit like taxes or anything. What other personal benefits come to it? The black market? They're all over. if you open the door for them and let them in some recreational way, there'll be more all over it. So I would just say, keep going with what you got in your mind, Chris. Push hard if you got to, and write a law that replaces the one that Marty said we lost.
Great. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else on that subject? Will we move on?
Chris, I'd just like to make a comment.
Okay.
Chris,
Ben, what do we have? D4.
Chris? He doesn't hear me. Chris, Mayor?
Yes.
Yeah, I guess I just wanted to make a statement in support of Marie Curtis and the ladies that have spoken up, and Margie Donlin, because just a general statement. I think medical marijuana is important, certainly if people are sick and they're already in such bad shape with cancer. It would relieve that pain, absolutely, for that. But every stoner I've known in high school never amounted to anything. They never really completed college. Most of them are still stoners. And I fully support the idea of us not just being casual about it in town. I mean, everybody drinks enough in the summer at the beach. We don't need them like smoking pot and being all wasted, driving around all of our dangerous roads. So I think not having a retail spot is probably a good idea. Anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Okay, great. Thank you, Jackie. Okay. All right. Ben?
D4, the tree protection and preservation ordinance.
Okay.
I see Ken Lutz. I think Ed DeFiglia is here. I don't know who else is.
Where is Ken? Is he on with us?
Ken's here. Ken, you're muted.
Yes, I'm here. I have nothing to say yet.
All right. You're awfully quiet there, Ken. So we're discussing, we got to take some kind of action here with this tree ordinance, Ken.
Yes, so I'd like to move the tree ordinance forward to a vote. If any council members have a final, I know we've kind of swung by it a couple of months ago, but if any council members have any, revisions to make, I don't think there were any at the last time we talked about it. Ken had composed a frequently asked questions to kind of make it accessible. I just emailed it to you just before the meeting. So maybe everyone can take a look at that, and I'm hoping to get it out to a vote soon. I don't know what the next steps are. If anyone has any sort of like, if you want to make any changes at this point, or I'd like to just go ahead and move it forward.
So, Marge, I just wanted to make a comment. I would like to hear from the township professionals. I'd like to hear from both of our engineers as well as Ron Kirk, because I just think there's a lot on the line here, and I would like to hear what these guys have to say. I mean,
yeah, I think we had Ed DeFiglia had asked Ron Kirk, and he said it's in the council's hands at this point, so just go ahead and move it forward to council. That's why I brought it back to us.
Can we have them come to the next workshop? I mean, I would like to hear exactly what they have to say, the pros and cons. You know, they're the ones who are the experts.
Sure.
Yeah, them, and in the past, and I mentioned this before, we just because of COVID didn't have anybody on, but we probably at the next workshop should invite the local tree surgeons, because we did that before. We got input from a few of the guys just to see where they're at, so they understand what we're doing and they can understand what it's going to be, what's involved now in getting a permit. So.
Okay. Is Tom on the call? Can somebody coordinate inviting these people to the next meeting then?
I'll take care of that.
Yeah, we'll get it once we hear from everybody. Then
Okay.
we're all better informed to move forward and get it going one way or the other.
How do we get
Sound
to
good?
read? How do we get to read the ordinance as it's being updated now? Is it available to the
Put
public?
it on. Well, we haven't because it wasn't a finished product.
Uh-huh.
So
I mean, the Environmental Commission, if you go to that meeting, maybe you can be in part of that discussion, or the Shade Tree Commission.
I signed up to be a volunteer.
Awesome.
And when they're the same time as our meetings, it's hard, but I think.
I know today, unfortunately today it overlaps because the first April 1st was last Thursday. Usually the Environmental Commission is the first weekend in April and ours is the second, or first Thursday of the month, and ours is the second, but this is a little of a different month, so.
Okay.
I have to say that the ordinance still needs some legal review. There are some inconsistencies. I want to make sure it's consistent with, let's say, definitions of rights of way and some of the other terminology we've used in the ordinance. So it's not quite ready to be published and voted on.
Excuse me, Mayor. In terms of the trees on the corner of Deal and 35, do you have an inventory yet of what they've taken down, and who's in charge of inventorying that? Is there someone on the job there?
Well, yeah, it's part of a site plan. You know, they go in and when they're doing a clearing like that, they're following what was approved at a planning board hearing, which of course they had. And there's usually detailed pages for clearing, landscaping, things of that nature. So,
but isn't there a price per tree? If I understand the price,
they're following. Well, what do you mean per tree that they're taking down?
Yeah, I understood the Shade Tree Commission had a price on what trees are taken because that gives them money to replant in another location.
Correct.
Okay, so.
Yeah. They did an acre average there like they do on most commercial sites.
They didn't, because when we were going through the planning board, their tree experts said most of them were dead, dying, or diseased. So did he count them by acre?
They still have to do an acre average.
So that's how it was done, not per tree.
Yeah, they do an acre average.
How do they, when you say acre average, what's an average amount of trees per acre? Do you know?
I don't have that number. I don't know. I'd have to ask our planning board engineer. I don't know.
Actually, Mayor, I believe it didn't matter if we counted them or not. I mean, we can go back and look at the minutes of the planning board and the ordinance itself, but I think the amount was predetermined. So I don't think there was a counting that was needed after the approval was given. The amount of money that was being contributed had already been pre-approved.
Right.
Do you know what that is, Rob?
I don't.
Right. They do it because they know how many acres that is. That's why it was several 100,000 I don't remember the exact number. I don't have it in front of me, but you can check down with Ron Kirk's office. I'm sure they have all that info.
Because wasn't Toll Brothers, I thought it was about 300,000. Am I wrong on that?
I don't remember, Jackie.
Okay.
Hey, Mayor, if I might, this is a little bit off topic of the ordinance, so I think we need to get back on topic and this can be discussed at another time.
Oh, I thought it was.
Okay, yeah, we can talk about that at the open public hearing.
Okay, I thought it was on the part of the schedule.
No, well, this is for the specific ordinance that's being proposed by Mr. Ken Lutz and the Environmental Commission and Shade Tree Commission, that's all.
And we just pushed it back, okay.
Yeah, so we know what we have to do to get something going on that one. All right.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, this is Ed DeFili. Can I get one last comment?
Yeah.
You know, I want to stress the urgency without coming across as alarmist, but you know, we're still losing a lot of trees, and we've been losing them for a while to folks coming in and denuding their properties, and not out of malice for the town or anything else, but due to a lack of understanding. One of the important components of the ordinance we're proposing is that it gets all the residents in town to understand, you know, they need to get a permit to remove the trees even by right, which means the town's going to allow them, but it gives an opportunity to understand that when you're taking a tree down on your property, it doesn't just affect your property. I think that some of the other components that are in the revised ordinance are really critical. And I just urge the council, I agree with Councilman Fisher. I think that we need to get this right, and we need to make sure that we've looked at it and the town professionals have weighed in but I think there's an urgency to this that it continues to move forward. So I urge the council to
We're gonna keep moving.
press forward.
We will.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks.
Just one more addition, because the legal aspects of the ordinance, can we have somebody address that at the next meeting as well? As requested by Ken Lutz.
Yeah. We'll have an attorney there.
Well, I won't be at the next meeting, but I'll have Matt Good there.
Okay. Is he an attorney?
I believe he is, yes.
Okay. All right.
Actually, if you just look at the draft ordinance, I put in all the comments where I think some legal review is needed.
Ken, could you do me a favor? I know I have it, but could you somehow get that to me again?
I'll be glad to.
Or through Vinny or Tom or something?
Yes, will do.
Thank you.
And we'll make
Hey,
sure.
Margie just shared it, right? Marge, can you copy Marty on it?
Yep, I'll copy Marty. I
Yeah,
don't
just
think I.
forward it to Marty.
Yep.
Okay, you're getting it right now, Marty.
Now I'm excited.
I stopped scrolling.
Yeah. You're getting it shortly. Okay, good. Move on D5 then?
Yeah, Mayor. We received a request from a contractor who is doing some work on Green Grove Road. And I believe I may or may not have. I apologize if I didn't. I thought I gave it to the township manager, but I might not have because it just came in.
No, I have it.
Oh, you do have it, Tom. Do you want to talk to this?
Yeah, I'll handle this one.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a request from John McKelvey, project manager, on putting a home in on, hold on one second here. 1104 Green Grove Road. I talked to the engineer about it, and he said that road was put in 2019. So it's roughly maybe a little less than 2 years old.
Wow. Yeah, that's a problem. That's going to be a problem for them. You know, I mean, we have these moratoriums in place for a reason. You go through the trouble of having these roads paved and looking nice, and every time you cut into it, you compromise it, you subject to raveling and things like that. It just,
You make it weaker every time.
yeah, you do.
Right.
You stress cracks in the finish, and I just, I for one am not, typically one that approves anything like that. But we've got 4 other council members here.
Any exceptions to extenuating circumstances on this one?
Well, this is a brand new house or building, so, and like the mayor said, every time you open that road, even if you use that special heat to do the road, it still weakens the road.
My problem is, and it's, I hate to be blunt about it, caveat emptor, buyer beware. When you're buying a piece of property, you really need to circumspect and say, hey, what else goes with this? Any off-site conditions I should know about, or on-site conditions? Are they going to build a manufacturing plant across the street, or is there a moratorium on opening the road? I mean, those questions should be asked before someone buys a property or tears a house down and assumes they're going to build something and just tap into the utilities. They really have to think about that. They throw it back in our lap. It's our problem. And you're being mean and you're holding people back from building their dream home. I didn't tell you to buy a lot there, and unfortunately there's a moratorium on opening that road. So they can get their utilities in some other way. That'll be great. Love to have them. Anybody else? Any thoughts?
I agree.
I agree.
I agree too.
All right, I will take care of that then.
Okay, thanks, Tom.
Sure.
And then just before we go to D6, various matters, Leon Cohen, are you on, Leon?
Yeah, he's there.
Yes, I am. I'm here.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so Leon, this is my friend Leon Cohen. We met a few years ago. He was interested in running a summer camp and then maybe even a winter camp or something, or studies for his group. And he was interested in maybe doing a lease at 1515 Logan Road. And I explained to Leon last year that, we're going to use the property ourselves and we're interested in doing it, or of course, our project extend throughout the year and eventually a summer camp there as well, though we won't have anything ready this year. Leon's question, and I think I mentioned it to Tom and Mike Petrucco, that listen, if there's any way he can contribute in helping getting the building ready so he can use it this summer, and along with that would be some use maybe at the park, you said, Leon. So
Yeah.
I'll let Leon present what he's looking to do, and then we'll see how feasible or if it's something we can do or not, Leon. It just, the clock's ticking. That's your problem and our problem, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's why I said we can maybe help out in that area if that helps. Mainly, I'm looking to use the building just for the summer months. So it's really just the months of the end of June. It's really June 29, July, and August till August 20. So if there's any use, during the year, then that wouldn't be a problem at all. The way I looked at it is really a win-win situation for. It would help us. We're looking for a place, especially now under the COVID restrictions. It's much harder. We're currently in the JCC. We're affiliated with the JCC, but it's getting hard to stay there. Like I said, especially with all the restrictions. We're willing to contribute financially to the building. To like you said, lease it, as well as maybe make some improvements in the backyard to the lot in the back, to the basketball, the gym, which we would be using, clean it up and get it ready. I figure it would, if it's not being used anyway for this summer, if we would use it, bring some life back into the building, get it up and running.
I think, Tom, maybe the next step would be, within the next week or so, if you can arrange a walkthrough with Leon, maybe one of our, Greg Blash, and Mike Petrucco, of course, just to see what I think, Leon, you need to see it to see what the gym looks like so you know what you're getting into.
I mean, the facility itself is, we're doing construction on it. We put a grant in and hopefully we're going to be able to start that construction sometime in May. And that's where all the high vac systems and all the vents that go with it. And the same thing with the heating and the plumbing and the lighting. I just don't think it'll be ready this summer. I mean, we're putting in roughly a lot of money into this and, some grant funding. And it's not, I'll be honest with you, it's really not going to be ready or safe enough to use it this summer. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm being perfectly honest.
No, knowing that new information about being torn apart this spring is good information. Wasn't sure when our timeline was. So what it said, Leon, we're going to have the building torn apart, basically.
I understand. So
uninhabitable, it looks like.
I guess I would say we don't need to use the entire building. We would just need our camp. It's really a holdover for school. The idea when we created the camp, what we do is we give studies in the morning. So we maintain. We know that, and I'm an educator, been a teacher over 20 years. So we know that we give summer homework over the summer, but how many of the kids really are doing the summer homework? So we have classes, and that's really why we would need around 8 to 10 classrooms, and then we would be outside most of the time, like I said, in the park across the street or in the backyard, and just the gym. The question is, if we can somehow work around and we'll work together maybe to figure out a way. And like I said, we would even if there's anything we could do to help with the improvements in the building, whatever it may be, maybe we can work together in that way.
I think the problem with the layout of the building, Leon, if you haven't been there, is that the boiler room and all that stuff's right behind the gym. So naturally, if they're going to be staging in there and doing all that work, that'll be involved, that area. And of course, with the dust and it, I don't think we can have by code anybody in the building, even with tarps down.
Not with construction going on. No, we can't.
Yeah, I think the town or liability, all that Just, I think unfortunately, in light of the new info, Leon, I think it's not going to work at all. Unfortunately, I wish we had a better answer, another solution for you, because, you know, we'd love to have the revenue for the summer, even this summer, just to get a few bucks in there. But I think from what Tom's saying is that place is going to be a combat zone, torn up from May right through probably early fall or maybe longer. I don't know.
Okay, I guess if that's the case, I understand. If there's anything that changes as far as the timeline, if it, you know, maybe if it gets started after the summer somehow, and I would say also if there's any way we can maybe in the future for future summers, until the township has their own camp or has a use for it in the summer, maybe we can still work something out.
Yeah, we can discuss that again.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see how we go and see what Mike's plans are. There's no immediate plans for the next summer, and we can talk about it on a summer to summer basis.
Okay.
Or maybe even a shared situation, who knows?
Okay. Well, okay. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for having
All right,
me.
Leon, sorry to drag you into all that and make you wait.
That's okay. I got a lot of education. I learned a lot tonight.
Yeah, you got a little civic lesson.
That's it. Thank you.
Good seeing you.
Thank you. Good to see you too. Thank you.
All right. D6, Ben?
This is you.
Okay, let me, got a letter from our Public Works Director, and the cost of purchasing the sanitation containers have gone up, and we haven't had a price increase in 10 years. And we'd like to make the price from $60 to $75, and that would include processing and delivery.
These are our blue and greens?
Yeah, yeah, the big ones.
I mean, to me, it's reasonable. I still have mine from 2010 or whenever we got it. I mean, mine are in good shape, so I don't plan on replacing them, but I think at that price, for the longevity you get out of these things, are pretty durable. I know some people get them beat up, or they say they're eaten through by the squirrels. That has not happened here, and it has happened in the past with my other containers. So
yeah, we do have good ones. We, you know, it's,
we do.
We're not cheap on them.
Yeah, man, it's still a bargain
Hey, Tom,
for a
without getting
90-gallon container.
sorry, Mayor. Without getting into specifics, I don't believe we were charging any type of admin fee before, and I know there's I don't know if it's a lot, but there's certainly administrative work to be done to get them and to deliver them and everything. That plus, are we keeping the same margin increase for the cost to what we're selling it for, plus the admin fee?
Actually, if the increase is for the container fee, and we never really had the processing before, but there's a lot of work involved in it.
Yeah.
So that's why we put that in, you know, it's.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you're upping it much. I think it was 65 now, and you want 75, or
It was 60 now, we're bringing it to 75.
And Tom, plus or minus, without, I mean, are we talking, how many people buy them a year? We talking 50, 150, 300?
All right. In 2020, we sold 421 carts.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
Know that.
And people are buying, you know, more than one for their house. And, you know, maybe someday we'll have to take a look at how many carts you're going to actually have at your house. That's another issue we'll discuss someday because of my experience. But it was very busy last year.
You got 4 garbage collections going at one property.
I'm good with it.
I'm okay with it.
I'm good with it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Now I got another one.
Okay.
I was looking at our towing, the bill list one day, and I saw our towing, so I got involved in that, and I went downstairs, talked to the chief and everybody about, do we charge a fee for processing, because all the work on towing vehicles are through the police department, not through the tower themselves. the release of the vehicle and everything else has to come through us as they pay their fees. We give our money to the towing company that does all the work, but we don't have a processing fee for that whole thing. And it's not just a one day thing. It's towing comes in, we take it down, how many days are in there, we have to figure out the fees on that. So I want to put a $50 processing fee on every car towed. At least this way we're getting some of our money back for all the work we do there.
Yeah. I think we should tow them ourselves. Just a thought down the road.
But we
But
actually,
yeah, no, I have no problem with the process.
we average about 300 tows a year. So
And just asking again, I get it. We got to cover our costs. Would you happen to have any idea if those 300, venture to say they're probably not Ocean residents, the majority?
you're absolutely right. You know, drunk driving is quite, you know, or abandoned cars and things like that. Stolen cars are left here. You know, it's just
broken down junkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because some of the cars are never
you get
retrieved,
all
so
that.
they get they get sold at a sale. So
I forgot about drunken driving. Okay.
So if a guy doesn't come back to retrieve his car, that fee just goes into a black hole. Just it didn't happen.
it's not charged to anything. The only time it's charged is when we receive it. So it wouldn't even, it would be like we didn't do anything on that. But then the car gets turned around and we get rid of it.
Gotcha.
Oh, excuse me.
Just out of curiosity, since you brought that up, Tom, where does that money go?
Well, that money would go into the general fund because we're already paying salaries and wages.
Right. So would we, I'm asking, would we take $50 and move it over from the left pocket to the right pocket?
No. It's money collected. It's unanticipated revenue because you don't know what the number is. So it just goes into the general surplus for the following year.
Let me rephrase that. So
Okay.
if we were going to charge a $50 administrative fee on a tow, let me separate it. Where would that $50 go?
That $50 goes into the general fund.
Same thing. Okay, very good. Got it. Okay.
Okay.
I'm good.
What else you got, Tom?
You're on a roll.
Let me see. Oh, a deer.
Oh, yes.
I read everything. And as everybody knows, I've been an outdoorsman since I was 5.5 years old. So I'm waiting for them to get back to me, but I'm going to try to speed it up. So whatever we're going to do, we can do it next fall, which is when they should be done, or early winter. So I sent everything into them and I'm waiting for them to get back to me. So as soon as I hear something, I'll let everybody know.
Okay.
Who's that? Fish and Game you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay.
He's talking about organizing a hunt.
I thought that we had the township had voted on non-lethal when we had the vote.
Well, you'll be talking thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars if you did that.
But that was
Jackie, we did. So we submitted, the former manager submitted a application to Fish and Wildlife for a non-lethal permit. And we are waiting for a response on that.
No, we got a response on that one, Rob. They were not for, they didn't think it was feasible at all and they would not support it.
Oh, I didn't hear. I'm sorry, Tom.
I'm trying to think if that was February, maybe. It was around the COVID, everything was sitting at once, but.
Got it. Okay. So
Mike
if that, okay, Tom, that makes more sense then. Okay, I'm with you now. Thank you.
Yeah, they weren't authorizing or approving anything like that.
Is there any way to like move the herd to an area that has more trees that we're not doing? Because doing a hunt in a suburban area seems very dangerous.
Well, Jackie, if you move them, they come back. If you try to move them, you would have to move them with a group. And as soon as you moved them, they would run away. And at nighttime, they go back. You're not gonna move them out of their habitat. Trust it from someone who's lived in the woods his whole life.
Lucky you. So how do you do a hunt in a suburban neighborhood? I mean, some of the homes that are on Dow Street, their backyard is the park.
Well, there's two ways you can do it. You can hire a company to come in and they would do it, or you would have open up to hunters, a certain amount of hunters, and it would be not with guns, it would be with crossbows, which is a legal tool to hunt in New Jersey in archery season.
Mm-hmm. And then how do you alert everyone? You know, when I first, we thought about this at the time when this was on the table the last time. And when I first bought my house down here and everyone came down for the summer, people would stay up late. We were having parties. And like sometimes at 2 or 3 in the morning, they'd say, let's go walk in the park. It's a full moon. It's beautiful. And people just living their lives enjoying what we have here. I mean, how would people
Parks
know
are closed at dusk,
not being
Jackie. You
wet?
violated the law.
What was that? What is that?
Parks are closed at, only open on to dusk. You violated the law there.
Yeah, I don't see that sign anywhere. And, you know, we have our fair and that's always open late. But anyway, we would go over there. We would walk around and look at the stars on a full moon. It was a beautiful night. I mean, how do you let everybody know that to not be in the way of a bow and arrow?
We would close the park, Jackie, but we would put up a couple signs so everybody know, plus put it on our website to let everybody know the park is closed on such and such a date. Listen, it's not the easiest thing in the world to do. I'm an animal lover myself. I grew up in the woods, but you know, it's eating everybody's, you know, shrubs and trees, and people are running them over. And you know, I wish it was an easier and better way to do it, but I got to be honest with you, hunting them is the most economical and feasible way to do it, honestly.
We just keep taking their habitat away, and that's why it's getting intense. I don't know. Listen, I just feel like we have the right to live here. They have the right to live here. It seems like how killing is killing. You know, I think it just depends on where your heart is. You know, what you value: human life, animal life, plant life. I mean, there are plants you can buy that they don't eat. I'm trying because they eat all of my plants, and I keep.
Well, buy begonias. If you're gonna put flowers in your yard, put begonias in. They don't eat them.
Yeah, no, we had English ivy. When I bought my home, it was beautiful. It looked like a little Hollywood set. It was covered in English ivy. But we're at a path where they go from the golf course on behind the street behind me. I can't think of the name of it right now. And they go right through my yard into the park. So they've eaten all the ivy, but I still feel that they were put here just like we were put here and they have a right to live. I'm not for it, but everybody knows that. I mean, I think we should put up more caution signs. That's why I light the sign on my property for people to slow down. We used to years ago put especially during mating season, we would put up a light that says, caution deer, and people should go slower on Deal Road. They really should. We shouldn't have people speed down Deal Road. I think we should monitor the people instead of killing all the deer, monitor the behaviors around and all try and live together. But that's just my statement on it. Anyway, I know I'm not going to change your mind, but just throwing that out.
Thank you, Jackie. Anybody else? Tom, you have anything else on that?
I have nothing, but I have a few things in executive.
All right. Does anybody else have anything before we go into executive session?
I do, Chris.
Yes.
Hi. I wanted to know where we are at.
Your name and address, please.
Lorem Stretta, 1701 Holbrook Street. And I am your dog park lady.
So
hi, everybody.
The latest recommendation was for our Shore Gas and Oil site. And I was inundated with hate letters from the neighbors over there. So that project's dead already. Nobody wanted it. Oh, they all back up to it and they didn't want to hear about it. I knew this wasn't going to be easy. So we're still trying to pursue something maybe in the Palea Park area. It might require us eliminating one of those practice soccer fields. That's the problem. Because you don't want it. Nobody wants to back up to this. It just seems to be the theme. That's the refrain I keep hearing. I just don't want to back up in my backyard and have dogs run around, the feces, etc. You know the deal. So anyway, there's a small area there at the back by the mulch pile to the right, and I guess Greg's going to try to mark it off and see if that's a feasible spot. That's what
Okay.
we're-
Yeah, I heard it was an issue. I drove over there myself down Christie Lane
yeah.
just to see the distance and mark it off. And I walked through Cotswold to see how far it would be away from the houses. And no one's going to be happy. There's always going to be a complainer here or there, but I think the majority of the community people want to have a dog park. So
There isn't room in Joe Playa Park for one?
There is. We got to be careful where we place it and how you put it, and it has to be accessible by car. You know, so people want to go back there. Just be mindful of, Laura, because you go to other dog parks. This
Yeah.
isn't going to be limited to Ocean Township residents. And
I know.
I'm going to tell you, there's some homeowner insurance companies that will not take your homeowner insurance if you have 3 species of animals. So if
Right.
you have a Rottweiler, a Chow, or a Pit Bull,
right.
and I don't know how the town's insurance is going to be. How do we preclude folks from bringing those dogs there? They're somebody's pets as well, but when you get them in an open environment, who knows? I mean, that's always been our fear, was the liability aspect of it. And I'm
Right.
just throwing it out there so you know what the hurdles are.
Oh, I know what the hurdles are. I'm well aware of it. Right.
So that's where we're at. We're working on it. Greg will go take a look at that one.
Okay. Thank you.
Floor.
You're welcome. Anybody else before we go into executive?
Mayor, I want to address something on the agenda. We kind of skipped from Vinny
Yep.
going over the agenda to the rest of the stuff, but I had a question on the 21074, the professional services. So the way it's written, it's kind of contradicting itself. It's saying it's mandatory, and then it says as they deem appropriate. So the last I remember, the council agreed that this would be something we would do. There wouldn't be an option. Meaning, as they deem appropriate should be removed. So it should say governing body to mandate that the Township of Ocean will solicit requests for proposals for professional services one time within a 3-year period.
Yeah, I don't know why that was put in there, maybe in case somebody fell out and you had to do it again, and it would be appropriate to go back to that. I don't know, maybe that's whoever wrote that up. But Tom or Marty, your thoughts on that?
We can amend it prior to adoption if we want to do that.
Tom, it's only a resolution, so I can just remove that language. So when we go to vote on it, we can vote on it as amended. And then I'll just remove that language from the final copy.
Okay, that sounds good.
Can I just, one follow-up on that? And it might be petty, but just for housekeeping. So the next whereas is the governing body will notify the town manager. Should it say the town manager will notify the governing body of which contracts are coming up?
Well, you get notified anyway. You get a list of appointments
Okay.
for the year.
I see what you're saying then. Okay, very good.
So
You're right.
when you review them, it's
Got it.
imperative that the governing body let the township manager know that they wish to go out for RFPs or not this year. So that's
Got
why
it.
it's written the way it is.
Very good. I understand now. Thank you, Ben.
Okay. Anybody else out there?
Later.
What's that?
Guess we'll see you later, right? You go.
Okay, we'll see you at 7 o'clock, everybody. Then you have the, want to read that in for
I do.
us?
Yep. Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act permits the exclusion of the public from meeting in certain circumstances, and now therefore the township wishes to go into closed session for the following matters: litigation, various matters, personnel, various departments. We need a motion in a second.
Make a motion?
I'll second.
Council members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, we're officially in
And
closed.
I will
Chance to set it
have
up.
to, hold on, I have to stop the
Want to
recording.
get a drink of water while you do that?
Chris, I'm sorry.
Right, let's call the meeting of April 8th, 2021 to order. Ben, take the roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani, Council Members Achara. You're muted, Rob.
Yes.
Donlin,
Here.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Here, everybody please rise for a pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Moment of silent prayer. Okay. Thank you. Be seated. The notice requirement for the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 30, 2019. I'm going to forego the fire exits, of course, but just remind you, the public, to please have yourselves muted until the public portion or the comments portion, or when there's an opportunity to make a comment on a resolution and or ordinance. Okay, because we pick up all the ambient noise and it kind of interferes with our recording of the meetings. So right now, I'm going to, before we go around the room here, well, let me do that first to see if anybody has anything. Rob, you have anything to offer? Any
Unfortunately, I
updates?
missed the Chamber of Commerce meeting this morning due to a business conflict, so no report. Thank you.
Okay. Dave?
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody that we are still in the process of taking your questionnaires for the master plan revision. So I encourage everyone from the township to go online to the township website, fill out the form. It's a great way for you to have input, and this way you can get involved in the process.
Great.
Thanks.
Marge?
Yes, I'm very excited to announce that we're getting our green
Margie?
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I'm very
Yes.
excited to announce we're getting our green team up and running. We've had a few meetings and we would love to have some more public involvement. So we're having our next meeting May 7th at 12 p.m. noon. The link for the meeting it's going to be a virtual meeting, and the link for that is going to be posted on the town website. But anyone interested in, it's basically to get points with Sustainable New Jersey. We have a number of things we'd like to get done, and we need some public help. So anyone who's interested in environmental initiatives, please come to that May 7th, 12 p.m. Thanks.
Let's go for gold. Okay, very good. I'm just going to say on a more of a sad note, we lost our 104-year-old resident, Vivian Stein, this past week, shortly after she celebrated her 104th birthday, which was a nice thing. She made it through that, lived through 2 pandemics, was a remarkable woman, had several children that still live in town, and she was spry as ever. I remember her at one of our super senior luncheons, even when she was 100 years old, when she was a young lady. We're giving her a proclamation, and she was very lucid, very spry, ran around the room, and it was a great lady. So I'm going to sorely miss Vivian. On a higher note, it's the 100th birthday or anniversary of our Wanamassa Fire Department this year. So we'll be on the lookout for events. I'm sure they're going to be advertising some events that the public can get involved in. So we want to wish them a happy birthday. We're going to do a little something for them here also in town. Okay. That's that. Anybody else? No? Okay. So let me just get into our meeting portion. The purpose of the public portion is to solely ask questions and understand resolutions that appear.
Mayor.
Yes. Oh, the 50th?
Premature. We have Ken Lutz here for the 50th, and then we have Steve Gallagher for the budget presentation before we get into the other stuff.
All right, so Ken's here now? You here, Ken?
Ken is here.
Oh, great, okay. I was trying to give him more time, but I'm glad he's here. This is something really important I have here. Anybody can see that? This is a proclamation for the Environmental Commission commemorating their 50th year established. So this goes back a long, long time, and joining us here tonight, one of the early commissioners who's been on the board over 40 some odd years. Ken, you know the exact years, Mr. Ken Lutz, along with Dallas Grove. He was with a bunch of folks way back in the day. And I always say one of the biggest accomplishments were pushing the mayor, Joe Pillay, at the time to make the purchase of Pillay Park. That really came from the prodding and the convincing and the arm twisting of the environmental commissioners, Dallas and Ken and so many others were involved in that way back when. So without any further ado, we want to introduce Ken Lutz. And Ken, maybe you can say a few words about the commission. Are you on?
I would like to. In fact, right after the first Earth Day in 1970, I think, New Jersey passed a law saying that towns could create environmental commissions. And Ocean Township was one of the first towns to create a commission. In fact, it was so new, I wasn't on it at the time, but it was so new that nobody knew how much the budget ought to be. And I think the town gave the first budget as $10,000. And I must say it's been going down ever since, but
I was gonna say, pretty robust.
But the last time I did a tally of the amount of grants we brought in, and it hasn't been updated, but we brought in over $125,000 worth of grants to the town. So I think we've repaid the town back. But very early on, we started newspaper recycling. The town had a mandatory newspaper recycling before the state required it. We even recycled household batteries. To get really arcane, we even had a soil erosion ordinance before the state mandated it. We've done a lot over the years. We've, of course, inventoried all our natural resources to try to preserve what we have. And as the mayor said, ended up with Joe Pillay Park, which is a monumental achievement. So I just wanted to say that the Environmental Commission is really just a catalyst for getting things done. But all of these actions that we've taken were taken by the town, not by the Environmental Commission. So even though looking back over the past 50 years, yes, although I haven't been on quite 50 years, I'm a proud member of the Environmental Commission, but I'm equally proud to be a citizen of the township because these are the doings of the Township of Ocean, and I'm really grateful to live here.
Well, that's very nice. Well, we thank you for that, Ken, and we thank all our commissioners, past and present, for all the good deeds and the recommendations you made to the councils, past and present. And we do like to take your cue, and of course, the latest work will be the revised ordinance and things. You guys always bring something good in this Sustainable Jersey with something really we're proud of, because we do pretty well with that every year. We've been bronze and silver several times, and I was actually one of the fortunate enough to go up and see a presentation where we picked up our award. Very nice. You guys, all that hard work that you guys do, and Ed, all you guys, and Mary, and we thank you all for what you do. So I'm just going to read a short part of the proclamation so folks out there can really appreciate this. On the occasion of the 50th anniversary, the Township of Ocean's Environmental Commission is commemorating its 50th on April 2021. I don't know if that was the actual month, but whereas the Township Environmental Commission is composed of residents and who volunteer their time. It's very important to emphasize that because all these commissions and boards, these are volunteers that are doing this. And for the conservation and the development of all our natural resources of Ocean Township. So now there be it proclaimed that the Township of Ocean hereby congratulates the Environmental Commission of Ocean Township on the occasion of their 50th, and be it further proclaimed that the Township of Ocean pledges its never-ending support to the Environmental Commission as they move forward, carrying on their mission. And we're very thankful. And this is for you guys.
On behalf of the commission, thank you very much.
Well earned, well deserved. Another 50 years, as they say. Great. Okay, thank you, Ed. Ed put a big thank you up. Thank you, guys. We appreciate that. Okay. Then we're going into our budget.
Yes,
Vinny?
let me just share my screen.
Okay.
Mr. Gallagher, please unmute.
Here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
You can, and I just shared, I made you a co-host.
Beautiful. Okay.
Pretty good, Rob, huh?
Awesome.
Okay, so let me get this started here. Okay, can everybody see the display? You're good?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so this is the 2021 budget presentation with my my kind of presentation of our budget as it stands. And some of you may know that this is my last budget here with the Township of Ocean. And, you know, I was thinking, geez, what could I do? What could I do to make my last presentation of the Ocean Township budget special, you know? So I thought, well, maybe I could do a little commemoration type of thing. And I thought, well, you know, maybe that's something like this. And I thought, well, you know, with COVID and everything, it's a little somber. So I thought, well, this is the 70th budget that I have completed, 70. So I thought, well, maybe I'll do something like this. And, you know, kind of celebrate the fact that I'm rolling out my 70th budget here. I thought, yeah, but by the way, that is not me. That is not a picture of me, although it looks pretty close. But I don't think I'd look as good in those tight pants. So then I thought about it a little bit more, and I thought this would be the perfect presentation here. This is a thank you. This is a thank you to the governing body, both current and prior governing bodies, and the taxpayers that have allowed me to let me serve them for these past 19 years. It's been an honor and a pleasure, and I will always remember my time at Ocean. I can't begin to tell you how thankful I am for having had this honor. And with that,
very nice. Well, you're welcome.
Going to get into the meat of the presentation because I know everybody has been waiting all year for this moment. Okay.
We might not be so kind afterwards.
Okay, so you know, every year we like to kind of like figure out what our objectives are for the budget. And every year, you know, the list is kind of the same. We have stable taxation. We want to maintain the township quality of life, balancing personnel needs, managing employee benefit costs, try to increase our shared services with other towns and agencies, more reliance on technology that allows the people to work smarter, continued investment in our infrastructure, the roads, parks, and facilities that our residents use every day, you know, to let them know that we are concerned with, you know, their well-being. So maintaining quality of life, you know, we restored the Poplar Brook portion of Poplar Village and Brookside Avenue Blue Acres purchases. We've completed those. We continue to expand the active alternative network system and extend bike lanes and sidewalks throughout the town. Tree replacement program, you know, whenever we do road work, we do use some of our funds to replace trees that might be old or dying. Trail improvements to Joe Palea Park, that's kind of a continuing thing. Ongoing improvements to the West Park Avenue pool and tennis facility. For 2021, Township plans to spend $550,000 on various recreational facility improvements. Okay. Then, of course, there's the Township letter, which we've started doing back in, I think it was 2017 or 18, to let the people know what's happening in town. There's a nice recycling calendar in there, nice articles from various township officials. Very nice. Okay, shared services. We have the Regional Recycling Center. We have the 9/11 services we share with Eatontown. TOSA, of course, you know, that's one of our big things. We do tax collection and a whole bunch of other services for them. Shared services with West Long Branch Courts, and that's been a very successful program. Vehicle maintenance, we use Seacoast Chevrolet to kind of help us when we have an overwhelming need to get vehicles out and back on the road. Electric and natural gas through the New Jersey SEM. Sustainable Energy Meeting has been very beneficial to the town. Animal control services with the Monmouth County SPCA. The Health Department services with the Monmouth County Regional Health Commission. Senior transportation services with Monmouth County Transportation. Liability insurance, we use the Mid-Jersey Municipal Joint Insurance Fund, which saves us a ton of money on covering the town for general liability as well as workers' comp. Delinquent court fines collections, we partner with the state of New Jersey for that. And the township and the Township Board of Ed, we do a lot of cooperative type things. They do facility maintenance for us. We provide them with security at the Board of Ed offices. We also do maintenance on their fields. And so, you know, that's been a nice little relationship that we have with them. Okay, and this is just a slide of the impact of getting our energy through the New Jersey SEM. As you can see, before we joined them, we were at the top of that graph there, and you can see that over the years since 2009, that we have just been on a downward slope as far as the cost of energy. We're really big here on utilizing technology. It's important to us. We use vehicle maintenance, inventory and servicing software to help maintain our fleet. We also use the POSS employee time management software. Both the police as well as the other employees here use it. It's really a great little system. Allows us to track time accurately and efficiently all through our computer system. We expanded online registration for certificate of occupancy, recreation programs, facility rentals, and human services programs. We also do online tax and sewer billing, payment history, inquiry, payment of bills by check or credit card. And now you can actually go on there and print out a tax bill, which a lot of people don't know about. Whenever I get someone who calls me asking for, well, how much did we pay, or I didn't get a tax bill, I point them to our online payment portal and inquiry system, and point them to that because they can print out a tax bill. And if they wanted a duplicate, they can print it out right straight from their computer and not have to send in $5 to the township to get a duplicate tax bill. Very nice and convenient. Works great. PayArgo, this is something we started about, I think it's about 4 years now that we've been doing it. That is a great service that aggregates the online bank checks that people do from their online banking systems, and creates a ACH batch for us. And we get one wire and one file, and it's a 5-minute post. And that has been a great productivity booster downstairs in the back. We also have our tax sale online, and we've been doing it since 2013. That has been a big time saver for the town. Not only that, but because it's online, people give their best bids, and a lot of those certificates have premium on the bid, which means that there is no interest on the delinquent amount that goes to tax sale, which really kind of gives a benefit to those who are on the delinquent list. Okay, and then we have HVAC improvements to township buildings, and we're getting a grant this year to cover 80% of a project through direct energy. That'll be a good deal this year. Okay, continued investment in infrastructure. We have the prior and current year road programs. We have Deal Road, Poplar to Route 35, phase 1, 2, and 3. Phase 3 is being funded through a 2021 DOT grant. And then we have a variety of secondary road improvement road improvements that we're doing this year. In addition, we're going to be doing $1,660,000 worth of road improvements for 2021. Okay, we have a new outdoor pavilion that we're planning for the West Park Avenue pool and tennis facility. Okay. We continue to improve our parks and playgrounds. We're doing improvements again this year to Joe Palea Park, Wanamassa Fireman's ball fields, and various other fields. And then we have renovation projects at various municipal buildings, including the two that we've just acquired, 1515 Logan, which is the future home of our recreation and our Project Extend program, and 1001 Wicapeco, which is going to host some of our township offices. And then we also have, continued police, public work vehicles, and heavy equipment replacement program going on as well. Okay, this is kind of our budget summary for 2021. For 2021, we're using about the same amount of surplus. For 2021 as well, the coronavirus lockdowns from last year severely affected the amount of revenue that we were able to raise. For this year, there were several revenues that we had to anticipate using the 3-year average that the Division of Local Government Services allowed us to do for this year because of the COVID affected revenues, which we did. We took advantage of that. And we're still about $426,000 short of what we were able to anticipate last year. And then the amount to be raised by taxation, And that gives us a total budget of $39,170,111. And then the appropriations are, of course, balanced, and we have appropriations within caps of 29,565,000, and then we have various pieces of operations, interlocal agreements, capital improvements, grants, and debt service. Debt service is pretty pretty much stable from last year to this year, which is a good thing. And then our reserve for uncollected taxes. Overall, the budget went up just about 0.89%. Okay, that's 89 basis points from last year to this year, which is a pretty small increase overall. Okay. And then, of course, for the movers and shakers, for salary and wages, basically it went up about 197,000, or about 1.2% over 2020. Okay. And employer pension contributions were up 124,000, or about 4.25% from last year. Okay. And then the big effect is the revenues affected by COVID-19. And here are 5 of the major categories that were affected. Court fines, we dropped almost $250,000 there. Interest income just cratered. Recreation fees, we dropped about 140,000 there. Pool revenues, about another $250,000. Project extend, 377,000. All told, we lost about 1.3, almost, $1.35 million. And that's a significant loss of revenues. And hopefully, with the vaccine out there, our summer will be a little bit better, and we can get things back to, somewhat of a normal footing, and get back to life as normal. Budget pressures, and we got a lot of budget pressure, that's for sure. Health and liability insurance costs, they're kind of a bright picture in our budget. As you can see, the red is health insurance and the blue is the liability and workers' comp insurance. And both have kind of plateaued. Health insurance was significantly over the past 4 years. And a lot of it has to do with, one, we're not seeing 9% increases in premiums like we had been in the earlier part of this past decade. And the other thing is that the way we manage health insurance costs here in the township are we're pretty aggressive with it. We have base coverage limits, and people can get whatever insurance is offered by state health benefits, but they have to pay the difference between the base insurance plan, which for most employees here is New Jersey Direct 2030, versus whatever the other insurance plan would be. They pay the difference in addition to their Chapter 78 contributions. And we've incentivized some of the cheaper programs. The state had incentivized the Omnia plan, and we incentivized the high deductible plan. So those have helped. We've got roughly a quarter of our employees who are on the high deductible plan, and that's savings for everybody around. The liability insurance and GIF has been, minor increases over the past 2 or 3 years. And that's, based partly on, the claims that Township puts forth. It also is, the GIF's operating efficiencies that help out there as well. Pension costs is never a good thing when it comes to the budget. They keep on going up, and we have no control over pension costs. The yellow is the PFRS, and the purple is the PERS pension. Those bills are calculated by the state through an actuary who determines what our liability is going to be, and then they send us a bill and we get the pleasure of paying it, which we do. But it does, continue to climb up. That being said, the municipal portion or the local portion of the PERS and the PFRS are probably the best funded out of all of the pension systems in the state of New Jersey. So that's a benefit of us actually making payments. And as you can see, we had a pension holiday back in 2000, and actually it goes back to 1998 for PERS, and then for police it was 2002 and 2003, which, hindsight being 2020 was probably not a good idea, but that's not my call. Okay. And then this is just a slide that shows the PERS and the PFRS cost per employee. So for PERS, the cost per employee is $9,200, and for PFRS, the police and fire, it's about $34,000. Solid waste. The past couple of years, we've really seen some issues with solid waste. The first thing is that our recycling went from a positive to, where we were actually getting revenues, to where we're at now, where we're having to pay to have these things carted away. And it's expensive. We probably have seen maybe a swing of $100 per ton on our recycling, where we used to get money and now we have to pay to get rid of it, which is why the past 2 or 3 years we've had a large increase in that appropriation. It's the highest it's been since probably around the mid 2000s. Solid waste disposal costs. Now this is a chart showing the tonnage of solid waste and the tonnage of recycling, the total of the two, and what they call the diversion rate, which is how much of the solid waste stream is sent as recycling. And we've been pretty strong there, although the past couple years we've dropped down a little bit. We used to have a diversion rate of almost 32%. Now we're bouncing around at 27, maybe almost 28%. And the cost per ton is shown down at the bottom. For solid waste, it's $88.60 per ton. And for recycling, it's $76.25 per ton. So not too much difference in the cost of getting rid of that material. My favorite.
And music.
anyway, the search for revenues, and that's always my goal here is to, you know, I'm searching everywhere. You know, I've got those very deep cushions in the hallway outside of the manager's office so that, you know, after people sit there, I could check it for coins. Revenue's been kind of tough. You know, this is state aid. State aid hasn't changed in years, and that they cut us by about $1 million back in 2011. You know, so we're trying to make it rain here. This income, and you can see the COVID effect here. The going from 2019 to 2020, we had quite a drop in our revenues. We went from a little over 500,000 down to about $150,000, and we're allowed to do that 3-year average that I talked about earlier. That gets us about $300,000. So, you know, we're not quite, you know, there, and hopefully the actual revenues will come in stronger, although so far at the beginning of this year, it hasn't been the case. But, you know, as the economy picks up and stuff like that, maybe we'll see that increase as well. And then construction code fees. Now, the past couple of years, they've been pretty strong. But we're starting to see a little taper off in that activity. Although you never know what the future will bring. But, you know, we have been around 600,000 consistently up until about 2017, and things kind of took off over there. Right now we're budgeting about 650,000 for this year. Let's see, interest income. All right, so as you can see, you know, we in the late 90s and mid 2000s, we had done very well with interest income, and we were getting upwards of $1 million from our balances, and then in 2009 and 10, the interest rates just cratered. And then we started getting a little bit back in 2018 and 2019, and then COVID hit, and we're struggling to get out of that hole there. So hopefully that'll come back, like I said. And then I like this little chart here. It's just kind of showing how state aid and surplus have been as a piece of the overall budget. Okay, and the green line represents surplus, the yellow line represents state aid, and when they cut the budget or they cut the amount of surplus, we've had to rely more and more on or cut the state aid, we've had to rely more and more on surplus, which we have, and we have a pretty decent balance in surplus that has allowed us to do that. But you know, when we lost $1 million, it really did hurt. Okay. Debt service costs. Okay, and as you can see, in 2019, we did a bond sale with the MCIA, and the past 3 years we've had some pretty level debt service. So that's nice effect from having done that financing. And this is just a chart that demonstrates that, you know, although we get the pleasure of collecting all of the money for the various agencies like the county and the school, the fire districts, our portion of it is really very small. We only get about 21% out of every dollar that we collect. And we get to make the county whole, and we get to make the school whole and the fire districts whole. And we get to eat the delinquencies. So just an interesting chart showing that you know, that the municipal government really is just a minor portion of the overall taxes that are paid. At times, everybody is saddened.
Very good, Steve. I think that last chart really was compelling, showing the consistency, though, of really the municipal portion of the tax dollars. I know when people see that, they don't realize, you know, oftentimes I'll hear it at the grocery store, the baseball game, oh my goodness, you know what we're paying in taxes, you know, 12, 15, 20. So we're only paying us about $2,200 of that, and that's for the police and the parks and the sanitation and all, you know, all those good things that you shared with us. So I think when they see that on a chart, it's really compelling to see that, you know, really we're not taking that much of your tax dollar, but still trying to provide that high level of service. And very consistent for even back to 98, the chart you just showed. You can see we're in that 20% range, really, 20, 21, 19. We really never gone over that. On this budget, like many other, the county, the state, many other municipalities, we had $1.3 million loss in income. We had to try to make up. You know, we didn't charge that back to the taxpayer, just a portion of that. But where are we at with our rate? Are we pretty stable with our tax rate this year?
Yeah, actually our rate is down 1/10 of a point.
Again?
Yeah.
That's interesting because we've gone in the last 7 years, Steve, steadily down on our tax rate, which, you know, partially due to our valuation, but that's a good sign that we're able to hold the line on that one from at 1.50 cents. Now we're down in the 42-cent range. So
sure,
let's make around there. So very good.
Yep. And we've had some nice developments in town. You know, the enclave not come online, so that helps us out.
Right. So this is a budget that shows everybody kind of pitching in, and we're all covering for each other on this one. And hopefully we'll get it back to where we, you know, it's pretty stable. We'll get it to the zeros again when we can. We're confident that 2021, 2022, we're still not out of the woods in 2021, of course, as you know. You know, we're still in our lockdown or quarantine and all those things. So as we come out of that, these slides will improve even more. And I think you've done a great job, though, demonstrating where it is. Very prudent budget. You know, and as you stated, some of those things are beyond our control. The pension contribution, the solid waste, geez, went from a win to a cost, and things like that you just can't help. And I was there at the early years when we had that pension holiday, and then we came out of that and we were hurting.
Yep.
And then to top it off, a few years after that, we got slammed. Boom. The state aid gets cut $1 million. The interest rate gets cut $1 million. We had like a $4 million deficit in 1 year alone. And we, you know, we survived it. You know, we weathered the storm. So I just want to say, all in all, good job, good presentation, tight budget.
Hey, Steve, one question. Explain what happened with the money from the feds.
Oh.
The American Rescue Act money.
Yes.
So originally we were supposed to get about $4.9 million. That was the number that was being put forward. And that number had been changed now downwards to roughly $2.6 million. In addition, they said initially that this was going to be flexible money. Well, flexible is in the eye of the beholder. The first thing they said in the legislation was that that none of that money can go to tax reduction. And if it does go to tax reduction, the town will be on the hook and have to pay that money back. All right, so well, that's one problem. So my plan when we had the $4.9 million was to use most of that money to fund our capital ordinances for the past couple of years. Taking that $4.9 million, putting it into capital infrastructure programs that we have in place would be a great idea. And not only that, but it would help overall savings time for debt service about almost $8 million. Now we're not getting that, so we have to go to Plan B. Some of the aspects of the law say that, you know, and everything is still fluid. Nobody's really got any rules or whatnot, but, you know, they're talking about, you know, putting the money into projects like expanded Wi-Fi and, you know, help for restaurants and, you know, local people, things like that. And some lost revenues too. I believe they'll let us take back some lost revenues from that. I thought that, you know, one of the things we could do, because they were talking about childcare in this particular act, and you know, our 1515 Logan is going to be the center for our Project Extend before and after school program. And I thought I heard something about maybe expanding that to include pre-K care as well. I'm not sure if we're going in that direction, but the thing is that we are offering that child care for school, which I think would qualify us for using that money to offset the cost of our acquisition as well as the renovations to that building. So that's kind of what I'm thinking we might want to do with that 2.6 million. It's like a half a loaf. It does help us out with debt service, but it would have been nice to have that 4.9. That's for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, good question, Tom. Yeah, but like you said, Steve, I think appropriating that towards, if we can use it towards the renovations and all that, enhancing that building, that saves us on the back end anyway.
Exactly.
Great. Anybody have any questions on our presentation?
Is it open to the public, Chris?
Yeah.
This is Peter Yunkun, 610 Deal Road. If nobody else wants to ask any questions, I have some.
Good.
Mr. Gallagher's visit has always been something I've enjoyed over the years.
He's creative.
There used to be these consolidated sort of statements. They were kind of tabular. They went by category. You know, they weren't just in a slide highlighted format. Is there like a consolidated statement that's available to us like we used to, it would be handed out to us?
Yep. Yes, we will have a final. This is a presentation. Go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say, I mean,
you want to answer, Steve?
Talking about the, yeah. Are you talking about the budget document?
Yes.
You're looking for? Okay, it's online. You'll see the budget document as well as the user-friendly budget online as well. And if you look, you know, there'll be documents from last year and the year before as well. We have our audits on there. We have our annual debt statements on there. So you can really get a good feel for the financial heartbeat of this town by going to the town's website. All those things are out there.
Right, it was very detailed by like categories, like
Mhm.
how much the police spend on salary versus operating expenses.
Yep, it's all there.
You know, how much flowers you guys bought on like occasion. It was like stationary costs.
Yeah. Well, you get a good idea from the budget document. The user-friendly budget is even a little bit better in that regard because it kind of groups stuff by activity. You know, the user-friendly document can be, you know, a little bit difficult to put together because it doesn't quite follow the format of the state budget document. But there's some nice information in there, such as, you know, the assessed valuation, you know, how much is generating taxes, how much is tax exempt, you know, our debt position, future debt payments, all that stuff is on that user-friendly budget. And then there's our audit, and the audit will give you, like for the prior years, it will show you a listing of all of the appropriations that are in the state budget document, except it lists it in a couple of pages rather than in 70 or 80 pages. So, you know, a lot of resources out there, and they're all for you, and they're available right now.
So you go to the township website and you download it.
Yep.
And we'll see it in the same format that we always saw it. That's somehow prescribed year in, year out by the state.
Yeah, there's also some expanded stuff on there. They went and added a thing for projections for the next 5 years, which I've filled out. It also has a nice little tax section in there, which shows the impact of our budget on homes assessed at a variety of levels. So it's really, you know, they really kind of made some nice improvements to it.
They've asked you for 5-year projections?
Yep.
Have they, is that new or they always did that?
That's been the past couple of years they've asked for that.
All right, so that's kind of new.
So the past couple of years.
Well, but 2 years is, to me, is kind of new.
Yeah.
So overall, your budget, like all of our budgets, will be like money coming in, which is down.
Well, the the state of New Jersey is very heavily regulates municipal governments. Okay, and so with the COVID crisis, pandemic, it really had affected revenues quite a lot because we had to close down for a little while. Not only that, but when we were back open, we couldn't run our recreation programs. We couldn't do Project Extend. We couldn't do, you know, the pool. The only bright spot last year was the golf course. Everybody was playing golf. We had our best year ever. But
did we break even on the golf course, or are we still kind of behind versus the expense?
Actually,
you made money.
You're in the black. That was a good thing, you know. Everybody had, you know, it was the only thing anybody could do, and we were able to book it all online, and you know, it worked out really well.
So is that kind of some strange COVID anomaly for like the first year we make money on the golf course?
Whether that COVID, yeah, was one of the outlets you could do, you know, and still be socially distant. And so it really was, it worked out for everybody.
We should have another golf course then, Chris. Get a second one.
Love to.
Got the break.
So income is down generally.
Yes.
Against expenses.
Yeah, I mean, we took a hit, and like the state of New Jersey made special accommodations, allowing us to take a 3-year average on the revenues that were affected by COVID. And we did a resolution to that effect at the introduction of the budget, the last meeting. You know, they're kind of like helping us out, because normally the state says that you can't appropriate more in revenues than you received the prior year. And if I had done that, I mean, we wouldn't be down 400,000. We would be down $1 million. So, okay, so you know, like that was a nice little lifeline from the state, but normally we can't do that.
So if income's down and expenses are up, you have a little bit of a hole.
Well, the expenses aren't really up that much. You know, like I said, our salary and wages are only up about $150,000 or so. Our pension costs were, you know, about $120-some thousand. But overall, you know, the increase from year to year on the budget is under 1%. So, you know, right now it's kind of like we've got revenues that are affected by COVID, but we still have to, you know, we still have to maintain the police department and the public works and the parks, and you know, money that we can anticipate is very limited.
Were there any savings from remote work? You don't have to turn the lights on. You don't have to clean the offices.
Well, you know, we did have a lot of savings there. Okay, now I was here every day, even when the town was quote closed down, and even when we went on a limited on-site schedule, I still was here every day. There was stuff for me to do. It was right in the budget season last year. I can't stay home.
Okay, you tape it if you want to. Want to tape it for me?
What's that?
Please mute your mics, folks, if you're not speaking. Thank you.
So janitorial costs didn't go down, or your electricity cost, or your heating costs that didn't really go down.
The janitorial costs, you know, I mean, we've got a contract with the Board of Ed for that. And as far as heating and whatnot, we had some savings maybe from that. Where we really saved money was personnel over in parks and recreation and Project Extend. You know, we didn't have to hire, you know, all the kids for summer camp because we didn't have summer camp. We didn't have to hire all the people from Project Extend because we didn't have the before and after school daycare programs. So, you know, while we didn't have, while we lost revenues, we also had expenditures that we didn't spend, or appropriations we didn't spend against. So, as a matter of fact, what I did last year was I took those appropriations and canceled them and returned that money to surplus, which kept us from actually having a big hit surplus. I mean, we had a pretty significant hit as it was, but it could have been a lot worse. So I was able to manage the budget and the surplus so that we didn't get hurt. We could live to fight another day.
Right. You always maintained a very healthy surplus. Have you been able to keep that up this year?
We're at about 8.9 million. We were at 9.3 or 9.4 prior year. We did take a hit, but we were able to somewhat manage it, and that's why you got surplus. Surplus is there to smooth things out, you know, so that you're not jolted year after year with things that might happen. You know, we've had a lot happen, you know, financial crisis, Hurricane Sandy, now the COVID, and you know, it just, you know, there is never a dull moment in the life of finance.
Right, but if I understand the figures I've seen over several years, you've been pretty steady state. Like income has been income, expense has been expense, municipal has been at the same rate, more or less, very small increases. Has there been, and it doesn't sound like you saw any like money, new money from relief due to COVID from any outside.
Well, here's the thing, like they had that $109 million the county got for COVID relief. Okay, well, first thing you couldn't do, you couldn't recapture the lost revenues. That was rule number one. You can't take the revenues. Okay, well, that was where my biggest problem was, revenues. They allowed us to buy stuff that was COVID related, but couldn't pay for things like the cops when they were out on quarantine, or you couldn't use it to pay for salary wages of people unless their job responsibilities had changed because of the COVID. So at the end of the day, we only received, I think, about $48,000 out of that money. And the American Recovery Act, I mean, that's not looking so promising at this point, although I think we can use it for our 1550 Logan. We still don't have any hard and fast rules from anybody telling us what we can and can't do with the money. And it's not looking so promising. So, we've been kind of on our own.
So if you took a line like PPE, in last year's budget, you weren't buying any PPE for the police department. Did you have to like buy a lot of PPE this year for the police department? And was that then funded from relief?
That's part of that $48,000 that we got.
Well, that's not a lot of money to buy PPE.
That's plenty. I mean,
so it covered what your PPE cost was.
Yeah, pretty much.
And what about something like ventilation in schools? I read a lot about. Like, are you going to have to spend more money on ventilation at schools? And is that money going to come from the federal government?
Well, the schools is a different animal altogether. We don't do anything with their budget. And we only get to collect their money and give it to them.
Okay.
That's what we get to do.
What about ventilation in other buildings that you're responsible for as a township?
Well, as far as the HVAC systems, I mean, we had those upgraded not that long ago. And we also have a grant and a project in this year's capital budget to go in and improve the HVAC systems in other parts of the ship's building portfolio. So we have pretty much all of that covered through other means.
So there's no like risk out there, like a big hit.
I don't want to, Peter, I need to cut you short here. I'm going to tell you why. This is a budget presentation. We're going to have a public hearing for these questions on our April 22nd meeting. So we're tying up a lot of time on a presentation, and all these questions, they're welcome. We'll be glad to spend hours on them, but at the April 22nd meeting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mayor, may I get just two in? David Weiner, quick questions, 1216 Walnut Avenue. What's our bond indebtedness?
We're at 0.6% right now.
What does that equate in money?
We have about 34 million outstanding.
And what is our bond rating?
Our bond rating is a AA+.
And is that from Moody's and the other two as well, all three?
No, we only go for bond ratings from one agency when we do an issue. We did an issue in 2014, and that was with Standards & Poor's. They gave us a AA+, which is the second highest rating you can get. Prior to that was in 2002, before I got here, through Moody's, and that was a AA2, I believe.
Okay, that's it on the questions, Mr. Gallagher. Thank you. Mayor, why aren't the residents, why aren't they able to view themselves on the video? Not that I want to subject anybody to my face, but
I don't know.
Because
that's above my technological pay grade.
Because the presentation's on.
There you go.
Is that what it is? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, once Mr. Gallagher turns the, there you go. See,
Again, folks, I just want to reiterate, this was a budget presentation. We thank you for your questions, but if you have those questions and you want more information or answers, please join us on April 22nd when we actually have the adoption, and then we can go over it then, all right? Excellent. Okay. At this time, I'm going to move on to the purpose of the public portion is to solely ask questions and to understand resolutions that appear on an agenda, not an occasion for the public hearing on an ordinance. All questions not relating to an item on the agenda should be asked during the public comments portion at the conclusion of the meeting. All right, so right now for a consent agenda, we have the minutes from March 25th, 2021 for the workshop in public. And anybody want to please offer that? Rob?
I'll offer.
Marge, you want a second?
I'll second.
Ben, roll call.
yep. Council members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin. Donlin, you're muted.
Yes.
Fisher
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Also, before I go any further, anybody have any questions on any of the resolutions, by the way, that appear on the agenda?
I believe it's a David Weiner again. Is it a resolution or an ordinance regarding the company you're hiring to be the manager? Is it $50,000? Is that the?
That's for the, that's engineering, Dave. That's a resolution.
That's the 50,000, that's for engineering?
Yeah, for 21076, is that the one?
I'm looking for it now. Hold on, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it should be the last item on the.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah, so what we're doing there is, you know, on our project over there, we're gonna have a third-party engineering company pick up the, all the reviews and everything going forward until the project's completed. So we have conflict attorney, engineers, attorneys, et cetera, you know, professionals for these reasons, so.
And in that respect, I'm just curious about the political contributions section. I'm used to county government more than municipal, but what you have 1 year prior, they can make contributions to the council, and 1 year, and during the course of the contract, they can't make it. Is that correct?
Correct. We have a strict no pay to play rule that we've adopted ourselves. Some have a threshold. In our town, we have a 0 contribution for.
Okay, but why are they not just they, anyone's supposed to, why don't they present, the council present any such, in other words, you don't accept any contributions, is that what you're saying?
Correct.
So
The greatest rule ever.
We put that in 2000, when I first got on council, 2003, I believe.
No, I concur, and it's happening more and more, although it slips in other ways, but I'm not claiming here it does. But I was just wondering why the concept isn't reported prior to the adoption of the resolution. I guess you answered it saying that there are no, is there a specific resolution that precludes, that's already been passed, or ordinance that precludes the council accepting donations of that?
We did that, yeah, Dave, we did a resolution back in 2003, when I first got on council, that we would accept 0 contributions instead of the 300 or 200, whatever the threshold was allowable.
It was 500.
We made it 0.
Okay, thank you.
All right, pal, no problem. Anybody else on the resolutions? Okay. Tonight, we also have resolution 21069, authorized release of closed session. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Mary, you forgot.
Second.
A second.
Council members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, and for tonight, we also have
Mayor, you skipped vouchers.
vouchers in the amount of $6,974,545.68. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
I'll second.
Rob? Okay, great. I'm not.
Council members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Individual action, we have resolution 21070, authorize the acceptance of the following grants. Cops and Shops for the Summer Initiative 2021. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
I'll second.
Council members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. 21071, authorize a tax collector to issue a refund for the following: Block 3307, Lot 7, and Block 4010, Lot 9. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
I'll second.
Council members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. 21072, this blows my mind, but authorize the purchase of Office 365 email from Microsoft Direct at a cost not to exceed $28,000. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
The tech guy, yes.
Well, I'm offering, but go ahead.
Why is it so much money?
Well, go ahead. I'll
All
get
right.
the second and I'll.
Second?
I'll second.
Council member Achara,
So Chara's going to comment on this one. So I did speak to the manager for the meeting, and he explained why we're doing this. And I'm going to vote yes for reasons that Tom explained. But I do want to make sure that we address the reason why we have to do this and ensure that we don't ever have to do it again. And I'll just leave it at that. Did I say yes?
good. Yes. Councilwoman Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, and 21073, authorize the tax collector to issue refunds, credits to those taxpayers who have received a favorable state tax appeal and judgment. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, 21074. Vin, did you make the adjustments?
I did.
Okay, so authorize the solicitation of requests for proposals for professional services every 3 years. Please offer.
I'll offer. Do you want me to mention the changes, Ben? Are you going to mention it just so it's on the record?
You certainly can.
So the second whereas, where it is the recommendation of the governing body mandate that the Township of Ocean will request for proposals for professional services. We're going to remove as they deem appropriate from that line, and then just continue it with one time within a 3-year period. So there's really no option. It's not up to the council as we deem appropriate. It's a mandatory requirement that we go out to bid for professional services contracts every 3 years. So I do offer.
Second?
Second.
Councilmember Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, yes. 2175, authorize a contract with Frontbridge Demolition LLC for the demolition of 1005 Wickapeckle Drive. That's the little red house there in front of the golf course. At a cost not to exceed $27,900. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
I'll second.
Councilmember Chera,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. And 2176, authorize a professional service contract with CME Associates to serve as special conflict engineer when a conflict exists with certain projects at a cost not to exceed $50,000. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
I'll second.
Councilmember Chera,
I'm going to vote no on this for a couple of reasons. One, if I'm not mistaken, it was sent out and put on the agenda this afternoon at like 2 o'clock. Two, in the past, we've had 2 or 3 conflict engineers. I'm not in favor of just giving all the business to one company. So I'm voting no on that.
Councilmember Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Okay, for tonight, we have adoption of an ordinance 2354. Vin, would you read the title, please?
Sure, an ordinance establishing a cap bank for the year 2021 in accordance with NJSA 48:4-45.14.
Great. Someone please open up the public hearing on ordinance 2354. Dave?
I'll open the public hearing on ordinance 2354.
Great. Second.
I'll second.
Councilmember Chera,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Anybody from the public have any questions on ordinance 2354? Please state your name and address for the record. Seeing or hearing no one, please close the public hearing on ordinance 2354.
Make a motion to close the public hearing on ordinance 2354.
Second.
I'll second.
Councilmember Chera,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Action please on ordinance 2354.
I'll move to pass ordinance 2354 and publish according to law.
Great. Second.
Second.
Councilmember Chera,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Ordinance has been adopted. At this time, we invite the public, if you have any questions, anything germane to Ocean Township business, now would be the time to state your name and address for the record. Please be mindful that there are over 20 some odd folks on this meeting. We'd like to limit you to 5 minutes if we can. That would be terrific. Anybody?
Can I-
Go ahead.
I was going to start. I just wanted to let you know we have a pretty good turnout because when all the
Name for the
trees came,
record, Jackie.
Jackie Wenzel, Yunkunst 610
Name
Deal
and
Road.
address for the record.
What?
Yep, go ahead.
So Mayor, as you've probably seen, or maybe not, on Facebook, there's been quite a number of people concerned over the dramatic clear cutting of trees, since they're all aware of the fact that we have litigation still pending. And, you know, with all of the, you know, kind of breaks you've given the developer in terms of us customizing the zoning to meet their needs for this development, we're just kind of surprised that you couldn't negotiate that they don't touch the land until our litigation is settled. I mean, you represent
Jackie, so
us,
just
the people.
let me stop you there for 1 second, then you can
Okay.
prattle on. I don't personally give anybody anything I'm a titular head mayor, if you understand what that means.
No,
I'm a
explain
mayor
what that means.
in name only. I don't run this town like the mayor would run New York City. You've given me a lot of credit for things that I have no power over.
Well,
I mean, yes, I get involved and I try to negotiate better deals for the town.
Mhm. I'm listening.
You know, has to do with litigation or things like that, or legal matters or applications. They go through a process, you know, an empirical process like anybody else does, and they're bound by the resolutions and what's approved. So to say that I made a deal with them on this, or I did none of that.
No, but you appoint everyone who's in positions to approve some
We
of these
appoint,
matters.
and it's not, you know, well, you know, you're
I mean,
kind of leading folks to think that there's a direct line of corruption from that point A to
I
point
didn't use the
B.
word corruption.
And there really
I'm talking about
isn't, Jackie.
influence.
This is a organic application. It's something that you may not be happy with. They're cutting down
Not
some
just me.
trees to, you know, at their own risk here. Has nothing to do with me allowing them to do that. They're
Well,
within
who
their
allowed
rights.
them? Who gave them the right to start cutting?
Can I interrupt? Can I interrupt for a second here?
Please.
You are involved in a litigation with the developer. You and or
I'm not,
your husband is.
Yeah.
Your husband is. And you were previously involved in litigation regarding the township ordinance. You had the ability, or your husband had the ability, if he wanted to make an application to the court and ask for a stay of any further work by the developer. The rule is that unless there's that stay issued, the developer typically proceeds at his own risk to develop the property. That's up to him.
But what would have been involved in doing a stay?
Let me finish. If you wanted to stop him, then you had the ability to make an application to the court in the lawsuit that you have or your husband has pending to ask for a stay of any further work by the developer. No one's done that. No stay has been issued. As a result, they're entitled to proceed with their construction until the, you know, depending upon what the court does, they would have to take down whatever they did, or we have a reforestation bond to replant trees if they lose and the trees came down and they shouldn't. In addition, the case, you're waiting for a decision from the judge. That's not going to mean the case is over. You're going to have the right to appeal that, or they're going to have the right.
I understand that this could go on, but now everyone looking at the empty park, the forest is gone. It's very heartbreaking, and you know, people have contributed a great deal of money. There's been a lot of donations from the town. Why didn't you or the mayor, you know, kind of say, you know, for the people, we should put a stay on this? I mean, you're doing this all the time. We're residents. We're not professionals at this. So I mean, if there was
you have a lawyer that represents you in the litigation.
No, I had called about it though, Mr. Arbus, and I was told that there was a bond that was put up and that he had the right to take the trees down because of the bond. And no one said, you know what, let's try and get together and, you know, we'll put a stay on this until, because I understand our mayor is about keeping it green. I understood he worked really hard on the first development to have it not be developed, and we were all on the same side of that, and I remember that, and we all worked hard for that. So at this point, when it's such a, you know, volatile situation, we've worked really hard. Everyone's put up a lot of money to try and protect this land, and also, you know, I know people wanted to get out of lawsuits, and that's why some changes were made. But I just think for the greater good for our community, it would. We now have no trees that absorb water. We have Oakhurst, which is very concerned about flooding. We don't have a lot of things in place to protect them now that the forest is disappearing. Anyway, I mean, I just don't know why it would be like up to Peter and I to stop it. I mean, why isn't anyone else who was a part of the community in a more professional role, such as the mayor or the council, you know, stand up for that? Why is it us having to always fight you about
because
that?
you're the one who filed a lawsuit. There'd be no reason.
Well, because it's the only thing that's caused it.
Reason there'd be no reason to stop them if you didn't have a lawsuit filed, because then they would have their approvals, which from the township's perspective, they have approvals. You're challenging those approvals. So that means you have the ability, not saying you'd win, but you have the ability to go into court and say, we want to have a stay pending.
No, but
the
why
appeal."
didn't we have your support on that, the mayor's support on that? That's what we were looking for.
100%.
We're not parties to the litigation.
Our support, Jackie, you have our my support.
No, to tell the
Everybody's support on that.
developer,
There's
hold
only
off.
So far we can go.
No,
We
but
can't-
there's,
there's a
you could have
stage
told
that-
him to hold off.
Instead of telling
This is
the
spiteful.
developer that
I
they
feel
can't
spiteful.
develop, instead of telling the developer they can't develop when they have a right to, which they could appeal and we would lose that. Basically, we said, provide us with a bond so that if you lose, we get those trees replanted and we're not damaged at all. So that's what we did. That was our negotiation. It was, I think, a very good negotiation.
Can I
And
step in? I have
if
a
we would've-
question.
Go ahead.
No,
This
not
is
yet.
Michelle.
You cannot.
What is your plan
Michelle
on
who?
Michelle Crosta? You can see my name.
Name and
What is
address
your
for the record.
1318
No, I
Vina Ave?
can't. Name and address.
Michelle
good.
Crosta, 1318 Vina Ave. I want to know what the town's plan is on how you're going to replace, if for some reason this plan falls through, 100-year-old trees. How are you going to replace that?
I don't know that they're 100-year-olds. And let me explain this to you first. In 1705, they
You know, I
developed
just
that
kind of
land
want
there
like a
with
really
house. I don't-
straightforward,
You know,
basic
listen to me
answer.
first, and you can speak. I want you to listen to me. Listen to me, young lady.
It's just
I wanna
amazing. Like
tell
we
you-
have you have no respect for any of us that are speaking
A lot
ever.
of respect. I let you guys go on and on. I'm very patient.
We have very straightforward, basic questions where we just want a straightforward answer. I don't want a story.
Farm since 1700. It's been a farm since 1700. I have an aerial picture of 1935 farm. No trees, no forest. So there's no 100-year-old forest. I want to get that
Yes, there
notion
was.
out of everybody's head. And it's
There
a
were
shame that what trees did grow since they abandoned the property are taken out. I understand that. I don't want to see them go. But it hasn't been a 1,000-year forest there. It's been a farm since that gentleman moved in. He wasn't a forester, he was a farmer. And he
But
cleared
there
it
was
up.
the-
So
there's the
on
work part.
so
all
the
that
perimeter of farms, the perimeter of most farms in the United States, there are huge trees that divide up the parcels. So
Okay.
you're telling me that the trees that are on the border of the not only Deal Road and Route 35, but also along all four corners, that those couldn't be 100-year-old trees, because that's how farming was done.
Not from the aerial photos we have, Michelle. No, most of the ones along the brook are. That's probably where the oldest growth is. But no, on the corner, no, they were pretty barren. In fact, if you look at the picture where Vinnie, our clerk, is now in that room, I had the Environmental Commission put those photos, not the Historical Commission, put those photos up years ago. And if they pan that room, you'd see a lot of, all those corners were farms. They really were. I'm not making this up. I'm just telling you.
Chris, do you know how long
I
it
agree.
takes for a
Nobody wants to
tree
see
to
these trees.
mature?
No, it isn't.
I do,
So a tree
yes.
will look very young for its first 20 years.
Understood.
Why didn't we put?
Like I said, the ones along the brook.
So,
are-
but it doesn't matter, because you still didn't answer my question. What is the game plan to, even if they're 50-year-old trees,
Yeah.
how are you going to replace 50-year-old trees with 10-year-old trees?
You
What
can't.
is the game plan?
You can't, but you would replace those invasive viney species that are there that we have an ordinance against with healthy new specimens if we had to.
But they wouldn't do
And then they would grow like,
they would not suck up the amount of groundwater that the old growths
not yet, but eventually
sucked
they
up.
would help. They would help.
So
they would help.
instead of being concerned about your town and your floodwater
Yeah, I'm a
situation,
terrible person, I understand.
you're okay with, I'm saying you as ustedes, the group, is okay with tearing down something where you don't even have a proper game plan.
We have a game plan and they have an approval to do what they're doing, Michelle. I don't know what you're
Who
talking about.
approved it?
really.
Who approved it?
I would like to know who
planning
approved
board.
it.
The planning board approved it because you controlled the planning board.
Oh, God.
You do.
Yeah,
You
because
appoint
I'm the
them. You
corrupt guy
appoint
that
them.
appointed all the.
The mayor
corrupt
appoints
people to
them.
Do this corrupt deed. I should be in
What?
pinstripes by now, really.
No, but you do
Terrible-
appoint them,
I'm
and
a
there's
terrible
a
person.
loyalty. I mean, and they weren't able to see the real evidence of car accident reports. I mean, all the important evidence was objected to and sustained. I mean, it was so one-sided. But
You've already had, you're having a trial before, you had a trial. That's related to the court matter, and really, we shouldn't respond to that.
okay, I
Court
wanted
on-
to. I just am going to let everybody else talk. I
Mayor,
just
we
want
have
to say to
exceeded the 5
the
minutes,
mayor.
Mayor.
1 second. I didn't have
Mayor.
5 minutes. When I get interrupted,
Yes, you
Vinny, though,
did.
that takes away my 5 minutes. But one other thing is that you say there wasn't 100-year-old trees. There was the part of that land that was historically, very historically significant from the Native American Indians. The land where those artifacts are was in a very mature part of the forest. So those have to be 100-year-old trees if it's from the indigenous Indian time, period time. So, and they're, you know, they've done archaeological digs. So that part of the land, maybe where they farmed, of course it was cut, but that part of the land was very mature trees, very significant land. And we actually could have been in the National Registry of
Yeah, this
Historic
is
Places if previous mayors, you know, saw the honor in that.
Can I weigh in?
Go
This
ahead.
is very focused. The points of it were there were 3,500 trees there that met the criteria for the shade tree fund replenishment. So that's what we're looking at. It may not have been a 100-year-old forest, but it was an urban forest. And it had all the criteria of a space that would retain water. So it had value to it. I just want to make that point. The other point is that we never had an opportunity during the planning board procedures to allow our certified tree expert to gain access to that property. That was denied. You understand that? You recognize that. Why? I want to ask, why didn't the council step up at that point and question that? Because we were just questioning about the revenue that the town didn't make. At 3,500 trees, at $350 per tree, that equals $1.2 million. Now, the developer brought in a CTE, a certified tree expert, that said that 60% of the trees were dead and dying. Again, we didn't have access to that property or to even challenge that. That's my question.
I would say that was a matter before the planning board. Go ahead.
Is anyone there? It's still in the interest of the township, and you could have weighed in on that, and no one did. Not even the Environmental Commission, after I had been told to leave, weighed in on that. And I found that very curious.
I don't think you were ever told to leave. You were never reappointed.
I don't want to revisit that.
Okay, you mentioned it, that's all.
Here and now. Maybe another day, but not now.
Okay, fair enough, Ray. Very good.
I think he didn't have a great connection. Maybe he's calling in.
Yeah, I'm getting that. lag and feed a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little slow.
All right.
So.
Thank you, guys. Anybody else?
Yeah, David Weiner again. Mayor, respectfully, did you say to Jackie before you prattle on? That's what I heard. You used the word prattle.
Yeah, I apologize for that. I did say that. It was rude of me, and I do own that statement, and I apologize, Jackie.
Thank you, because
I think you guys know that
you're linked in a foolish fashion. It's not.
Yeah, I'm a fool sometimes.
No, I didn't call you a fool. I just said that's the definition of prattle. I didn't refer to you as a fool.
Oh, okay, thank you. But I think you guys will concur. I'm very patient at these meetings. I do let folks go on beyond their time, and I really never question it. And I think you'll concur that, right? You give me that much?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
No. Credit where it's
Anybody else?
Can we move on to other subjects?
I wanted to.
Can I ask a question? Dennis Howell at 1638 Holbrook Street. Could you tell me, does anybody monitor the quality of water in Poplar Brook besides New Jersey DEP? Is there a town office to do that or a facility to do that?
I'm not sure, Dave. That's a good, sorry, Dennis, that's a good question. I don't know who else would be the arbiter of that.
Well, one of the reasons I'm asking that is since some development is going on now, and I know they put the mud silt fences up and things like that. Is there a facility to make sure that the stormwater runoff is not affecting Poplar Brook tomorrow, for instance, if it happens to rain? Is there any way?
Yes,
to
well, we
monitor?
did. Good question. I'm glad you brought it up because I did go into the manager's office this morning and we concurred that now that they've clear cut a lot of the area there, that they need to hydro seed and get some matting down and some stabilization in place.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have that turbidity and the turbid runoff going down past, down Deal Road or into the brook.
Right.
So yes, that's we're on top of that issue.
That's good. I appreciate that. But that still doesn't answer the question about the actual quality of the water in the brook.
I don't know.
I'm really asking, Mayor, because I can't find anybody. I talked to the folks at EPA, and they were nice folks, just kind of overwhelmed with the amount of work they have to do. And I believe the last time Poplar Brook was really officially monitored was back in 2016.
That's possible.
There had been another one scheduled. It was postponed for some reason, and I'm sure now in COVID it's going to be postponed even more. Now, Mike, I was curious, is there a way for us to monitor Poplar Brook as the town? Say at the entrance point around 35 and at the exit point, more or less at Whale Pond, just to see that there is nothing drastic happening to the brook? Is that an expensive thing to do? Is that hard to do?
I don't know, but we can certainly ask our engineers to see if we can get something done about that, have them look at it. And it's a great idea.
Is there a facility in town that does water monitoring?
So I guess Tom, well, we don't do it ourselves, but I think Tom, our manager here, is listening to you. I'm sure tomorrow or Monday he'll be on the phone trying to get someone out there to work that out.
So the township engineer might have some input on that too?
I'm sure he would at least have a outlet for where we can do that or who does that.
Yeah, it'd be nice to establish a base point, a mean that we can look at over time, make sure that things are not being
right
polluted. Great, thank you.
They may be doing it now, I don't know, but we'll find out.
I'd be shocked if they were doing it now, and I think you would be too. I admire your optimism.
Okay. Hasn't had their 5 minutes? Anybody else who hasn't had their 5 minutes?
Hi, this is Jennifer Zarcone, 510.5 Palmer Ave. I just had a quick follow-up question about the trees and the bond. So if for some reason we do have to utilize the bond to replant the trees, is it the town's responsibility So does the developer pay for it, but the town has to plant them? Is that how does that work?
No, it would be all on them, Jennifer.
Okay.
We'd oversee it, of course, make sure we got the specimens we wanted and
Mm-hmm.
the quality, of course.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
It's Peter, 610 Deal Road. Can I move on to another subject?
I don't know. I want to answer about traffic.
Well,
Are you going to talk about traffic?
no.
Okay.
I have another topic about this project. It's not about trees at this moment. It's about the traffic study that was done. And I've been in touch with the DOT. And it seems like, you know, we've kind of just barely made it. Like it's passing, but say we're passing like a D pass. It's you know, they've kind of changed seconds on the traffic lights at Alair Road and West Park. So we're barely making it through, but it's been able to be approved. So, you know, my concern, and you know this, Mayor, because I've brought it up several times, have been the accident reports, the police accident reports, because they were denied into evidence at the meetings. And now that there's, you know, a lot of their timing was on the extra traffic that this development will bring and the weave of the traffic and the timing. And I wanted to know, were they considering also in that weave the additional traffic that will be coming from the Hillel School project, which is happening kind of simultaneously, it seems like, with the same developer, right? Isn't Paramount doing the Hillel School as well, or am I wrong? Are they doing that as well? Is Paramount doing the Hillel project?
Well, Paramount's not doing it.
They're not doing
Excuse
the
me?
building?
No, I don't think Paramount. No, he just happens to be a member of the board there.
Oh, I
And he
see.
just,
Okay,
he
but
has
anyway,
no-
do you know if they've considered in the study which got through?
Probably not,
on
because
second,
that's a new addition. But what they, I don't know how much more traffic's gonna come from a high school expansion. You know, because most of those students there are bussed in there, and there's not a big student parking lot.
I thought it seemed like
That's approved in 2019 is not going to take into consideration a new application coming in 2021. As far
but
as I know.
you know, our town knows that this is going to be 1,000 more students, and people that are up in that area, at least the meetings that I've attended, they seem quite concerned about the traffic and the flow, and there's going to be a certain type of
You
turn.
bring that up at that meeting. It's not something for the council right now.
No, but for us with it before, you know, with the road design too, because most of the accidents, this is the thing that perplexes me as a resident. Most of the accidents are at the jug handle. I mean, during the meeting, they talked about most of the accidents were on the commercial side, and they are, and there were less on the side where the woods are. But now that the forest is gone and it's going to be commercial there will be a greater velocity of accidents. There's no question. And most of the accidents are at the jug handles, and here we are, we're going to add another jug handle. So it's just like it's like we're bringing the same ingredients to an already very unsafe situation. We have so many accidents there right now, average of 3 a month. So I would just say, since we're not, you know, nothing is built yet and decisions aren't finalized yet, that we should include the possible extra volume from the Hillel School in how we evaluate. It's one traffic light away. I mean, they did evaluate Alair and West Park, but they didn't evaluate, or maybe they did, Poplar and Deal. Could you get back to me on that, I guess?
I guess. I mean, what else to say about it?
Well, it's danger.
Okay.
It's dangerous. I mean, the residents are.
Yeah, I'm counting on the DOT to do the right thing, and hopefully they're doing their studies and they're making their calculations and taking all the surrounding area into consideration when they're making these approvals.
But they're aware of the Hillel project in their calculation of this. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
I don't know if they are or not. I mean, I wasn't aware of it until Jackie. I don't know how they would be aware of it during that application because this came after.
No,
In
I
other words,
know.
it wasn't something that we knew about 10 years ago.
But it's not
It's
built
something
yet,
just
and we know it now. It's not built
All
yet.
right, so I'm sure that's the board's obligation to consider all that.
Okay. Peter had a different subject, so.
Right, I want to move on to another subject. Is that okay?
What's that, Peter?
Go for it.
I want to move on to another subject.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, your 5 minutes is probably way past, but go ahead. Subject.
Hey, the dog's barking. Where are we with the dog park?
Oh, that was that.
We're still seeking areas that will be suitable. We haven't established one yet.
The last I heard, there was an area by the water tower. There was an
an old site, sure, gas and oil site, but the residents there had objections. Nothing to do it there. Might be somewhere. We're trying to find a little spot in Playa Park that makes sense.
They were talking about the workshop.
So the water tower spot is out.
There was never a water tower. It was shore gas and oil, which was on which no longer exists.
Okay. Do you think
piece there.
You think we'll have a dog park by like August?
Pardon?
You think the dog park area will be done by August?
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. The second question, the second subject was the master plan. There was some discussion about it was going to go out with an RFP, and has it been awarded now just to Mr. Fitzgerald again? Not Fitzgerald.
Higgins.
Has it been awarded?
Yeah, I believe Mr. Higgins is on the case now.
So there's no RFP going out to more than one planner.
Tom, you want to weigh in on that one? Put it out there. He's still with us.
Yeah, it's a professional services contract.
Our planner has.
I'm sorry,
sir.
I say it's a professional services contract, and we don't have to go out and bid it. And he's already the planner here. He knows the town very well. Why would you go somewhere else to somebody who doesn't know the town as well as Mr. Higgins does? So it makes sense of the town to go with Mr. Higgins, and we're allowed to by law.
I'm only asking because of previously it was stated that there would be an RFP. So
I don't know who told you that, but
former town manager, I think, said
well, all right. Well, he's not here anymore, and I follow the law so we don't get in trouble, and that's why we did it that way.
It's public record that was discussed. There would be an RFP process.
Okay, well,
you're well within your rights to not do that, but I'm just asking. That was a decision that was made. When was the contract awarded to Mr. Higgins?
I don't have the information in front of me. I'd have to get back to you.
Okay. And along with the contract to Mr. Higgins, there must still be some sort of scope of work. Just like if there was an RFP, Mr. Higgins will do this. Just like any other planner would do, he would do it in a certain amount of time. It would require a certain amount of, involvement with township authorities as well as public inputs.
All that's been documented, as far as the amount of meetings and everything else that are going to happen with the group for the master plan.
So there's a schedule on the website, Peter, that we posted for the public, so you guys can stay informed and participate. Pardon?
It's on the.
If you go to our front page, our website.
So
that's on there for you to be able to participate and follow the schedule.
There's a published schedule.
Yes.
Could you just summarize that quickly, or do I have to go see it?
It's on the website. Just look it up. It's right there. All the dates, all the timelines. It's all on the website.
When does it start and when does it end?
It already started and it's going to end when it's finished. But it's already started. The process has begun.
So it started with the award to Mr. Higgins. Is it ending before this fiscal year?
We'd like it to. That's our target. Yes.
And you couldn't walk me through it. I have to go look on the website.
Well, that's why we put it on the website.
Yes, Peter.
So if
Every day,
I needed
every
a
day
little
is on
hand to
there and
walk
you've already
me through
exceeded
it,
5.
if I need a little hand to walk me through it, could you walk me through the timeline?
No,
Yeah,
but
come on
Mr.
in, I'll
Chris
show
would be
you.
glad to do it.
Come on in anytime. Just let me
Okay.
know when you're coming, and we'll go over it.
So it's from now to the end of the year.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask the manager, not everybody that's on right now had not attended the earlier workshop. And some news came up about a hunt and that we're going to be doing a deer hunt.
Well, we're not, no.
Okay. I
We're,
didn't hear that right?
we're hoping that DEP will allow us to do the hunt. We haven't been approved for anything yet.
Okay. All right. I thought when we had the vote that it was going to be just non-lethal control, that the people's vote counted. So how does that get overruled, or was our vote was only good for a certain period of time? How does can someone explain?
What do you mean? What do you mean as far as
Well,
your
the
vote?
previous manager submitted.
We had a vote, a public vote.
In town, what people's preference was, and the combination. Do you want non-lethal or lethal, or a combination of the two? And the combination of the two, it was a split, but a lot of people wanted non-lethal. There was plenty of people who thought that there could be both. We actually put in for an application to have non-lethal method, but that got turned down.
No.
So this is the next step that we have to go to. That's why.
The non-lethal won over the.
No, we have to put to the Department of Wildlife for further approval to do that, and they denied it.
You mean after we, as the community, voted for non-lethal, you then go to the next step to say we need a non-lethal plan, and they didn't approve it?
Well, the town vote for non-lethal, they just gave us our input. And to be honest with you, when you get to the numbers of it, people were, if you look at the numbers of people who were okay with lethal method, it was actually the majority, because they voted either lethal only or a combination of the two. So there was, if you look at the numbers, the majority of the town, greater than 50%, was okay with some lethal method, greater than the people who preferred completely non-lethal. But we did submit an initial plan to just non-lethally, but the Department of Wildlife has to approve it, and they denied it. So that's why we have to go to the next step and see if a lethal method.
Well, why was that? Because of budget? Why would they not approve a non-lethal method? Why would they not approve it?
It wasn't going to work. We were going to have to, they just didn't approve it based on their research and their that was it.
Jackie,
I don't know.
They haven't approved one in over 10 years.
Well, you know what's interesting, because I fine-tooth combed every accident report. Not even 1% was due to deer. Not even one. There was maybe since 2017, 2 deer incidents. Most of those accidents were car-on-car, jug handles, and unfortunately a pedestrian, a cyclist. But there were no deer. There was very few deer incidents. So I don't understand why we have to kill the deer. And I'm putting this out for the
32 deer a year, Jackie. 32 a year average are taken out by a car.
Well, not around Joe Playa Park, surprisingly.
Around Joe Playa Park.
Well, they weren't at the, I guess on Whale Pond, maybe more. They weren't at the intersection where I was doing my accident reports.
32 years are average, unfortunately. It's a sad thing, but I am for a non-lethal all the way. I think I've said that 100 times, but unfortunately that wasn't approved.
So they would say just do nothing. They won't approve
do nothing, or you have some sort of organized hunt.
And the idea of herding them to a more open space.
Yeah, it's not cost prohibitive. It's cost prohibitive.
Doesn't work.
Yeah, unfortunately, no.
And there's enough people that we've had a lot of people come to the town meetings that have serious issues with the deer on their properties that they've presented to us. So I
some people have more issues than others, but it's becoming more and more of an issue, and people want us to do something about it. And
more open spaces getting developed. I mean, that's what's happening.
These are choices, and unfortunately, what we wanted to do, which was the non-lethal method, is not possible. I mean, that's the one I prefer. I really wanted to go out there and do, sterilization of the deer, but that's not something that
would be great.
Well, anyway, it's sad because you can get landscaping that's not, that's deer resistant, and I do it for landscaping seems so selfish. But anyway, I guess no one else has anything. I don't know if anyone else has anything to say, because there's a lot of people.
Yes, I do. As far as that vote goes, David Weiner, 1216 Walnut Avenue.
Thank you.
Wanamassa, just like Vailsburg and Newark. That was a non-binding referendum.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So that's why the state can ignore the will of the residents, but the vote clearly was for non-lethal. Even were it close, it was for non-lethal methods. And as a vegan living right next to Larkin Golf Course, I love the deer that are there, as well as the fox and everybody else, all the other animals that are there. I wanted to ask about, has anybody on the council or in the administration been approached about Sweeney's proposed bill S3522 regarding the pensions, the PER's pension, which would separate the local from the state and also privatize its running? Nobody from the League of Municipalities, Bookaloo's daughter, no one's contacted you guys?
No, I haven't seen anything.
Do you know Bookaloo, Lori? She's the deputy executive director.
I know the name. I don't know.
She's the daughter of George Norcross's partner.
Yeah, I know the Buckaloo family. I know the Norcross. I don't know them personally, though. I've heard the name.
Okay. Well, as a public employee representative, including the Eatontown Motor Vehicle Center, which you've done a great job in keeping them safe in there. I have to give you that.
Thank you.
I don't know why the hell you guys got to close down for a whole week to clean the place, but I'm not going to question it. That's the way it is.
The union. They have a CWA as their union.
I am the rep to that place. Yes, I told you that before, Mayor. If you ever discipline anybody, I'll be there.
I'm giving you credit.
No, you should. It's a great place. It's very well run. But yeah, it's a horrible bill. It's Sweeney's backdoor to his program for progress, which we call Program for Poverty, and it's built on a lie. So I just ask if it were to come up, that you might inform, if you think of it, to inform me if you're approached by anybody from the league, because both the league and I believe the NJ.
We'll keep an eye out for you.
Yeah, and for the last question, SIPSIC. It's on your photo. CPSIC. What does it mean? You, man.
It's my truncated initial.
Oh, because it's actually an organization. I know if you
Oh,
know.
really?
Yes.
That's a truncated version of my name.
Okay, that's cool. But it's a national organization, very good organization. I thought maybe you were involved with it. But your name's good enough. That's good. Thank you. That's all I had.
They're stealing my name. I have the copyrights to that.
I have it to Weiner as well, Mayor, as you know. Okay, I'm done. I'm not saying anybody else says, but I'm done. And I do love the council person Donald's cat. Not as much as her baby, but the cat is nice and fat and beautiful.
Beautiful.
So your husband had the baby, so you got the cat. That's okay.
Baby's asleep now, so.
Very nice.
As will I in a few minutes, I hope.
All right. Anybody else have anything from the public? Ben, anybody on there?
No, sir.
Seeing or hearing no one, make a motion to adjourn the council meeting. Or make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Council members Achara,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, meeting adjourned. Thank you all for joining us and celebrate or Wanamass Fire Department's 100th year of volunteer service. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.